Chapter 47. I think highly of you. Zhou Yuhu walked towards Shifeng in an imposing manner. He wanted to personally teach Shifeng a good, hard lesson this time. On previous occasions, he always sent others to handle it for him. However, Shifeng still did not learn to be good. Today he wanted Shifeng to imprint this lesson onto his bones. The people present could all see the conclusion that was coming for Shifeng in a society where the entire population underwent body training. Fights between students were all too common. Even minor injuries were very common. As long as it didn't go overboard, it would not cause an incident. However, looking at Zhou Yuhu's current attitude, Shifeng would be staying in the hospital for at least a month. At that time, Shifeng would be wearing a cast while receiving his graduation certificate on the stage. Hold it. Zhou Yuhu. This is our class. On what basis does an outsider like you have to come and bully someone from our class? Zhao Ruoshi's delicate body suddenly blocked Shifeng. She was not the slightest bit threatened by Zhou Yuhu's imposing aura. As she berated him, Zhou Ruoshi's actions unquestionably left everyone else in shock. They never imagined that the normally gentle and graceful Zhao Ruoshi would stand up for an inferior student. She was even challenging Zhou Yuhu. She had such a strong heart to be so brave. Ruoshi, don't stir up trouble. Brother who only wishes to give Shifeng some pointers. This should be Shifeng's good fortune. Shifeng is always being bullied by others, but with brother who's pointers, he might have some growth and learn to be a proper person, Ling Feilong explained with a smile. Due to Zhao Ruoshi's above-average appearance and attractive curves, he long since treated her as his personal property. Never would he have imagined that she would stand up for Shifeng. Suddenly, the rage towards Shifeng burned even greater in his heart. However, it would not be good for him to reveal that rage, so he simply tugged at Zhao Ruoshi's delicate hand. He wanted to pull her away, stopping her from being a hindrance. Fellow student Ling Feilong. As the pride of the class, are you just going to watch as one of our classmates being bullied? Zhao Ruoshi shook off Ling Feilong's hand, looking at him and asking angrily. She originally thought Ling Feilong was in possession of a good personality. He also performed exceptionally in the fighting competition, so she thought he was a good prospect. However, she didn't think that he was just a hypocrite. Ruoshi, how could you say such a thing about me? You are misunderstanding. It isn't my fault that Shifeng does not know how to be a proper person. Now that brother who is going to teach him how to become one, it would be beneficial to him in the future, Ling Feilong said with a righteous expression as if everything occurring was for Shifeng's own good. Zhao Ruoshi was greatly angered by Ling Feilong. She promptly turned towards Shifeng saying, hurry up and leave. I'll hold him off. This little girl is interesting and very sexy. I like it. Zhou Yuhu's eyes started sizing up Zhao Ruoshi, liking very much what he saw. His lips could not help but curl up into an evil grin as his hand stretched to caress Zhao Ruoshi's delicate face. He was no longer paying any attention to Shifeng. However, before his salty pig hand could touch Zhao Ruoshi, it was slapped away by another. Zhou Yuhu, since you wish to trade notes with me, I can agree. However, just trading notes would not have much meaning to it. How about we spice it up a little? Shifeng proposed with a calm smile. He took a step forwards, tugging on Zhao Ruoshi's jade-like arm and pulling her to a side. Zhao Ruoshi did not react to Shifeng's actions at all. Until she was dragged behind him, she only then began to look at Shifeng's average stature in stunning shock. When did Shifeng become so manly? However, she also felt Shifeng was very foolish. How could he trade pointers with Zhou Yuhu? Now Zhou Yuhu would have an excuse to teach Shifeng a lesson. Zhou Yuhu rubbed the reddened back of his hand, enraged. He glared at Shifeng, suddenly discovering Shifeng's current appearance was very calm and stable. It was as if Zhou Yuhu was looking at an entirely different person. Before, Shifeng would easily be incited and get into fights with others. Now, however, not only was he not aroused, but he was also smiling happily. Was his brain damaged? Ling Feilong was deeply enraged when he saw Shifeng's stretched arm actually touching Zhao Ruoshi. He could not help but wish he could take action immediately. However, he still held it in. He was prepared to put Shifeng in his place in the future. Kid, you actually dare to challenge me. Truly interesting. Then I'll wager 1,000 credits. If you win, the 1,000 credits will be yours to keep. If you lose, then kneel and apologize to me and also compensate me with 1,000 credits. How about it? Do you dare to agree? Zhou Yuhu furiously smiled. He never thought Shifeng's brain was truly damaged, daring to even provoke him such a petty wager. Aren't you embarrassed from saying it out loud? Shifeng shook his head and snorted in disdain. Your guts sure have grown after not meeting for a few days. Say it then, what kind of wager do you want? Zhou Yuhu was angered into a laugh. He knew Shifeng was poor, and he could not even afford the 1,000 credits. Now though, he had actually dared to increase the bargaining chip. Was he complaining that he didn't have a quick enough death? It seems his brain was truly wedged between a door. Didn't you win a membership card for the Big Dipper Training Center from the school's fighting competition? Use that as the wager. If I lose, I'll pay 10,000 credits to you a month later. If you don't have the courage to wager, then forget it, Shifeng provokingly said. In Shifeng's previous life, Zhou Yuhu showed off this membership card in front of others. Now, Shifeng could coincidentally use it to train his body. The Big Dipper Training Center was well known in Jinhai City. It had a great environment, and its training facilities were very thorough. The average person was not allowed to enter the training center at all, not to mention obtaining a VIP membership there. A normal membership was worth around 8,000 to 9,000 credits. Even if I wager this card, where would a poor wretch like you find that much money? I won't believe in empty words. Zhou Yuhu laughed coldly. Indeed, it was as Zhou Yuhu had said. Shifeng had not a penny on him at the moment, not to mention 10,000 credits. Hence why he had said he would pay a month later. However, Zhou Yuhu would clearly not believe him. Instead, Zhou Yuhu turned around to mock him. It would seem Shifeng's plan was going to be dashed this time. Shifeng, did you think I don't know about your living conditions? You are so poor you can't even afford to have a good meal, yet you're still pretending to be wealthy. Qin Shuyu shot Shifeng a glance, commenting in disdain. I'll pay the 10,000 credits, Zhao Ruoxi abruptly said. Ling Feilong's eyes turned crimson when he saw Zhao Ruoxi standing up once again. He couldn't help but wish he could get rid of Shifeng right this instant. Shifeng was also shocked. He looked towards Zhao Ruoxi astonished. He did not understand how Zhao Ruoxi had that much money. He wasn't very clear of Zhao Ruoxi's family background either. Shifeng only knew that her family was relatively well off. However, Zhao Ruoxi was actually so believing of him, even to the degree of betting her money on him. Shifeng could not understand why she had done so. To begin with, the relationship between the two of them wasn't that great. Zhao Ruoxi looked at Shifeng. She knew the reason for Shifeng's astonishment. However, to not let him misunderstand, she quietly explained, I'm only lending you the money because I can't stand Zhou Yuhu's arrogant attitude. I think highly of you, so even if you lose with dignity. Thank you. I will definitely return twice the amount to you, Shifeng gratefully said. This money was very important to him. Now, Zhou Yuhu would definitely agree to the wager. After Shifeng obtained the membership card, he would be able to regularly train his body. It was better to start training earlier, rather than later. The earlier Shifeng could train his body, the larger the benefit it would have to his future. Zhao Ruoxi had helped him greatly this time. When he started earning money in God's domain, paying Zhao Ruoxi an extra 10,000 would even be considered too little. However, Zhao Ruoxi did not take Shifeng's words seriously. She only nodded with a smile. She did not think that Shifeng could return her money, not to mention double the amount. Ha ha ha. Interesting. Then let's draw out the contract at the fighting arena. Zhou Yuhu licked his lips. He was even more interested in Zhao Ruoxi now. Although his luck in God's domain was bad today, his luck in real life was truly good. Not only had he found a good-looking girl, but he could also receive 10,000 credits for teaching Shifeng a lesson. It truly was a blessing in disguise, following which, everyone arrived at the fighting arena built by the school. Shifeng and Zhou Yuhu signed a contract under the supervision of the central brain. Contracts acknowledged by the central brain were also recognized by the law. There was also a judge at the fighting arena. The judge was normally a teacher in the university who taught students how to fight. The judge also had good skills that would be used to promptly stop the fights to avoid any heavy injuries from occurring. The other students from the class stood below the fighting ring. They laughed at Shifeng's stupidity. Instead of being an invisible existence like usual, he actually went insane now. Not only did he oppose Ling Feilong, but he also angered Zhou Yuhu, who was even more terrifying. After today, Shifeng might never live a peaceful life ever again. Qin Shuyu looked above the ring, at the calm and steady Shifeng. The feeling he gave people was completely different from before. He currently radiated an indescribable sense of security. She even felt Shifeng's scrawny body had grown larger. Qin Shuyu quickly shook her head, mockingly saying, "How strong could a weakling, who doesn't even know a single fighting technique, be? He even dares challenge brother Hu now. He truly is reckless." Chapter 48: An Unequaled Fight. None of the students below the ring had refuted Qin Shuyu's words. Instead, they felt her words made sense no matter what was said. Zhou Yuhu was ranked third in the university's fighting tournament. He was also highly praised by several teachers who taught fighting. They predicted Zhou Yuhu would be able to create a reputation for himself in the upcoming city's fighting tournament. Not to mention teaching the weak and scrawny Shifeng a lesson. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken even though he remains unyielding right now. I guess Shifeng will kneel and beg for mercy in a moment. Does that even need to be mentioned? Why don't you look at who Zhou Yuhu is? My guess is Shifeng will be lying on the floor within 10 seconds. The male students in the class started to laugh as they discussed Shifeng's "What is wrong with you people? Is this how you treat a classmate of yours?" Zhao Ruoxi asked. Looking at her classmates with a furious expression, the students all turned silent. However, their eyes revealed a hint of disdain when they looked at Zhao Ruoxi. One of the gorgeously dressed girls in the class curled her lips in disdain, softly saying, "You just have somewhat good looks. If it wasn't for Brother Long, who do you think would listen to your words?" The other girls promptly nodded their heads. They were not taking their class monitor seriously at all. Although the female students spoke in soft tones, everyone present could hear them clearly. To the side, Ling Feilong felt invigorated as he enjoyed listening to their words. Zhao Ruoxi turned her head away in a rage. No longer paying attention to these people, Ling Feilong walked over to her and gently said, "Ruoxi, I know that you have no choice in this matter as the class monitor. However, Shifeng is the one finding trouble here, so you can't just blame everyone. Moreover, nobody believes Shifeng can win with that small body of his. You are literally throwing your money into the ocean. In a moment, I'll talk it over with Brother Hu to not take your money and let Shifeng pay for everything. Indeed, I am helping Shifeng because I am the class monitor. However, regarding the matter with the money, I have never thought of asking for it back from him." Zhao Ruoxi glanced at Ling Feilong, coldly saying, "On the other hand, you're the one who has taken the recommendation that is rightfully Shifeng's. Instead of helping Shifeng now, you're here making cynical remarks. Aren't you afraid of people criticizing you behind your back? Also, how can this be considered trading pointers? One is ranked third in the school, while the other is a student who doesn't even know any fighting techniques. Do you not feel any shame when you speak of this?" Zhao Ruoxi's every word caused Ling Feilong piercing pain. In addition, her elegant and refined complexion gave off an indescribable sense of strength that struck at Ling Feilong's heart. Ling Feilong was speechless as he turned pale from anger, just as Zhao Ruoxi had said. Every class had a fixed number of spots for the recommendation. Only students with results amongst the top 20 in the class were qualified for this recommendation. However, Ling Feilong had managed to obtain the qualifications to participate in the city's fighting competition after much difficulty. If others were to know that he was a university student without a recommendation, it would be an absolute humiliation. The school had previously considered such reputational problems as well. Hence, they had made it so that the top 5 contestants of the fighting tournament would receive a recommendation, even if their studies were not good. However, Ling Feilong was only 9th ranked, so naturally, he could not obtain it. Hence, he had suggested such a matter to the school. Seeing that Ling Feilong's results were in the top 30 of the class, not that far from the 20th place, the school had decided to agree to his request. However, the condition was someone had to willingly give up their recommendation. As for how he would get someone to give up their spot, that all depended on Ling Feilong himself. Shifeng was just a weakling. Originally, Ling Feilong had intended to utilize the collective intentions of the class, in addition to his own strength, to easily oppress Shifeng. Then, after giving Shifeng some benefits, this matter would be considered over. However, Shifeng's actions were completely different from what Ling Feilong had imagined they would be. Shifeng had not taken him seriously in the slightest and had threatened him without hesitation. Now he was even ridiculed by Zhao Ruoxi. Ling Feilong's heart was currently filled with an inextinguishable wrath. Correct. This isn't an equal fight. However, can Shifeng blame others for being weak himself? Who was the one who agreed to this competition? Surely you can't blame me for this. Ling Feilong looked at Zhao Ruoxi with blood-red eyes. If Zhao Ruoxi did not have a beautiful appearance and attractive body, he would have long since sent a slap flying over. However, he endured it. Using force was definitely not a smart move. Moreover, Zhao Ruoxi's family background was not simple at all. If he caused an incident now, his entire life would be over. Also, when Ling Feilong thought about how he could toy with Zhao Ruoxi in the future, the rage in his heart calmed down slightly. Brat, after making me take such a loss, just you wait and see. Ling Feilong glared at Shifeng, silently swearing above. In the fighting ring, Shifeng only smiled in disdain when he felt the hostility coming from Ling Feilong. However, he had to agree to one of Ling Feilong's words. This was indeed an uneven fight in Shifeng's previous life. Although his physique was not comparable to those first-rate fighters, he could still beat them into submission. The thing he relied on to win was the life-or-death battles in God's domain. What was a 100-battle hero? After living through 100 wars, it would be hard not to become an expert hero. It was the same with many martial artists. Their training usually involved pushing themselves to the edge, using the feeling of having their lives hanging by a thread to train and improve themselves. However, such a method was too dangerous. The average person would definitely not do such a thing. It was extremely easy to go overboard and lose their lives. After Shifeng went through extremely realistic life-or-death battles, the increase to his battle experience and techniques rapidly grew. His skills in battle even exceeded the national fighting competition standards by several levels in 10 years' time. Any reputable melee player in God's domain could easily defeat the current fighting champion of Jinhai City, not to mention Shifeng, who was once the captain of Shadow. In Shifeng's eyes, the university's fighting tournament was just like children playing house. Moreover, regarding physique, his current body exceeded his body 10 years later. Fighting would not be a problem, even if he had to face up to 5 or 6 Ling Feilong's brat. You sure are carefree to be looking around. Watch how I'll fix you up, Zhou Yuhu said, rushing at Shifeng. He immediately sent a slap towards Shifeng's face, intending to humiliate him first. Naturally, Shifeng could easily see through such an action. However, Shifeng stood unmoving even though he was facing off against someone much stronger than he was. Shifeng sent out a casual punch towards Zhou Yuhu's face, completely ignoring Zhou Yuhu's slap. Zhou Yuhu never imagined that Shifeng's fist would have such precision, aiming directly at his face. Instinctively, Zhou Yuhu had used his hands to block off this fist. Shifeng's lips curled upwards when he saw Zhou Yuhu's actions. With lightning speed, Shifeng's hand chopped towards Zhou Yuhu's neck. Zhou Yuhu failed to react in time as he received a chop to his neck. With the precision of a surgery blade, Shifeng's hand hacked at a major artery in Zhou Yuhu's neck. Suddenly, Zhou Yuhu felt his vision blurring. There was a sense of suffocating as Zhou Yuhu felt all his strength leaving his body. Shifeng did not give Zhou Yuhu time to catch his breath. Immediately, he sent another punch flying towards the side of Zhou Yuhu's abdomen. Zhou Yuhu wanted to block the attack, but his body refused to listen to his thoughts. He could only feel a stabbing pain in his intestines as a stream of yellowish liquid shot out from his mouth. Zhou Yuhu's vision became a blur. He could not cry out, even if he wanted to. Zhou Yuhu's body instinctively wished to fall, but Shifeng did not give him such a chance. Fist after fist landed on Zhou Yuhu's abdomen, followed by a few more landing on his ribs. After receiving a series of consecutive punches, the acidic juices in Zhou Yuhu's stomach had been completely drained out of his mouth. Then, his body fell to the ground like a dead dog. The entire arena suddenly became silent. Everything had happened all too quickly. It was so quick that not one person had even reacted. Only after Zhou Yuhu was laying on the ground did the judge of the match finally react. Immediately, he declared the end of the fight in Shifeng, the winner of it. At the same time, he hurriedly ran over to Zhou Yuhu's side to check on him. The judge truly could not imagine it. Zhou Yuhu, the third-ranking student in the university's fighting competition, was not even a match for such a weak-looking youth. By no means was Zhou Yuhu too weak. Instead, the weak-looking youth was just too strong. After watching several of Zhou Yuhu's matches, the judge knew that he was very strong. At the very least, it would not be easy for the judge to deal with him. After looking at Zhou Yuhu's injuries, the judge was dumbfounded. Shifeng's techniques were just too horrifying. Every one of his moves was perfectly measured, breaking only 2 to 3 of Zhou Yuhu's ribs but not heavily injuring him. Zhou Yuhu only needed more than a month's time for his chest to heal up. Chapter 49 A New Light. Seeing Zhou Yuhu unmoving on the ground, it was clear he had lost consciousness. The teacher then reported that Zhou Yuhu had no major injuries, and he would wake up in a moment. However, his injury still needed to be tended to. Also, he had to rest for more than a month as for the city's fighting competition that would be held in 3 weeks. Zhou Yuhu could forget about joining. Everyone's sights shifted toward Shifeng. They looked at his thin and weak body, sucking in a cold breath when they recalled the explosive and terrifying strength it was capable of displaying. When they thought about the words they said to Shifeng before, cold sweat started pouring out from their backs without stop. Currently, the expression in the male students' eyes as they looked at Shifeng had completely changed. There was no longer any ridicule or contempt contained within them. Instead, there was a deep fear. The third-ranking student in the school was actually defeated in a single exchange. Who else could become Shifeng's opponent? If Shifeng wished to take care of them, the consequences they would face would be unimaginable. On the other hand, they had actually dared to give Shifeng's recommendation to Ling Feilong. Thinking up to this point, the hearts of the hot-blooded warriors from before started to beat madly under the central brain's witness. Shifeng received the membership card for the Big Dipper Training Center and 10,000 credits. Following which, he circled a glance at the people below the ring. When a few of the less courageous male students were met with Shifeng's deep and profound eyes, their legs suddenly turned weak as they lost consciousness, foam appearing at their mouths. Teacher, not good. Little Lu has fainted. Before this sentence could finish being said, another male student lay flat on the ground. Meanwhile, the male students that remained standing started becoming scared in their hearts. Shifeng was just too terrifying. He actually shocked 2 male students into unconsciousness just by looking them in the eye. However, they were also envious of the 2 that lost consciousness. If they had fainted over, they wouldn't have to bear such a pressure right now. Currently, the air surrounding them was still, as if frozen. Breathing was starting to become a difficulty for them, and even their limbs felt heavy as if they were filled with litas. For the female students in the class, they were all dumbfounded. Their heads quickly lowered when they saw Shifeng looking over. They felt uncomfortable throughout their bodies as if they were frightened rabbits that were being stared at by a big gray wolf. Qin Shuyu's delicate mouth widened. She rubbed her eyes, verifying what she saw over and over. Only then did she understand that Zhou Yuhu was struck unconscious by Shifeng. Shifeng was just too powerful. Why had she never discovered so before? If she could be with a man such as this, her sense of security would be off the charts. Just thinking about it had made her happy. As for money, that would not be a problem. Just based on his strength alone, Shifeng could definitely get into the city's fighting tournament. Entering into the top 10 would also not be a problem. When that time came, there would definitely be many requests for him to become a celebrity spokesperson. When Qin Shuyu saw that Shifeng was looking over, she slightly tidied up her clothes and hair, appearing neat and moving. She also revealed deep cleavage, feebly saying, "Brother Feng, it's noon already. I know a good restaurant that has a great environment and good-tasting food. I'll treat you, so let's go there and have a try." However, Shifeng did not pay Qin Shuyu any attention. Instead, he was looking for Zhao Ruoshi. When he found Zhao Ruoshi, he immediately walked over, completely ignoring Qin Shuyu. Seeing Shifeng's cold and indifferent eyes, Qin Shuyu suddenly felt she had lost something very important. It was as if a knife stabbing at her heart. She regretted being blind and foolish when she was in high school class monitor. "Here's your 10,000 credits. I'll repay the remaining 10,000 credits as fast as I can." Shifeng handed the money over, speaking with a calm smile. However, Zhao Ruoshi would not receive it. She blinked her attractive eyes as she looked at Shifeng as if she was looking at an exotic animal. There was both shock and joy contained within them. "Are you really Shifeng?" Zhao Ruoshi asked in a quiet and uncertain tone. Throughout Zhao Ruoshi's 4 years in university, her impression of Shifeng was one of an introvert. He was often bullied by others. He also appeared very prideful, never receiving help from others. He was like an injured little wolf, licking his own wounds alone. She had never imagined Shifeng's actions today would have such a great difference from before. She now viewed Shifeng in a completely new light. Feng had turned from being a little wolf into a slumbering dragon. He was unassuming when slumbering, but amazing when he took action. Even Zhao Yuhu, the third-ranking student in the entire university, was no match for him. If he had entered the school's fighting tournament, he might have already become the champion by now. Of course, I am Feng. Class monitor, why would you ask such a question? Could it be that I am just too handsome and different from my previous appearance? Feng joked. He naturally understood Zhao Ruoshi's thoughts. He had attracted too much attention today. However, even Feng himself did not wish for such a situation to occur. The developments up to this point were all unintentional. Don't get cocky. You are just barely able to enter my eyes. Zhao Ruoshi immediately snatched the money from Feng, her fair and delicate face revealing a calm smile. As if she had thought of something, she quietly said, "The fellowship party hosted by the university is in 10 days. There will also be the upper echelons of well-known corporations in Jinhai City attending the party. Aren't you trying to find a profitable career? This is a good chance, so you should consider attending." The moment Zhao Ruoshi finished speaking, she thought of Feng's financial situation. He definitely did not have the money to attend the party. Hence, she quietly said, "As for the fee required to participate in the fellowship party, I can pay it for you." Feng gave Zhao Ruoshi's words some thought. The fellowship party hosted by Jinhai University annually was a big event, and that person might even participate in this party. Hence, Feng nodded his head in agreement, saying, "Thank you, class monitor. I'll go. As for the participation fee, I'll pay that myself." Zhao Ruoshi was slightly glad when she heard Feng agreeing to go. However, there was an indescribable sense of disappointment when she heard Feng saying that he would pay the participation fee on his own. The conversation between the two was also heard by everyone else. However, everyone doubted their hearing when they heard their class monitor, Zhao Ruoshi, actively invite Feng to the fellowship party. She was even willing to pay for his participation fee. Zhao Ruoshi was a truly beautiful woman. Only, she normally made no efforts to enhance her looks with makeup. Her clothing was also very common. However, it was still unable to mask her elegant and refined face and exquisite body. As long as she dressed herself up somewhat, even the school's top beauty might not be her match. Hence, there were quite a few rich and influential men who tried pursuing Zhao Ruoshi. However, every one of them was rejected. Ling Feilong was the only one who had managed to shorten the distance between them after much difficulty. However, it was only to the degree of getting Zhao Ruoshi to treat him somewhat better. Zhao Ruoshi's pridefulness was clear to behold. Now, however, Zhao Ruoshi had actively invited Feng. It was an absolutely jaw-dropping scene with such a beauty inviting them. Who could refuse? However, Feng had tactfully rejected Zhao Ruoshi's kind intentions by the side. The wrathful flame in Ling Feilong's heart burned madly as he listened in on the two's conversation. Feng, one must properly know one's own worth. There will be many great figures of Jinhai City attending the fellowship party. Just based on the clothes you are wearing, the security might even chase you away. At that time, you'll embarrass everyone in our class. Ling Feilong mockingly said, "You don't have to worry about this point, fellow student Ling Feilong." Feng turned to look at Ling Feilong. He pointed towards the ring, a cold glint flashing past his eyes as he coldly said, "On the contrary, didn't you say you wanted to teach me how to become a proper person before? This place is the fighting arena, so why don't we exchange some pointers? Teach me how to become a proper person." Feng, you don't get ahead of yourself. I am only following the suggestion of the entire class. Ling Feilong stuttered as he looked at Feng with hesitant eyes. He suddenly felt chills throughout his body, inadvertently retreating a step back. Having him exchange pointers with Feng was just digging his own grave. For those who have never participated in a fighting competition, they would not be able to know the true meaning and horror of the exchange between Feng and Zhou Yuhu. Zhou Yuhu was very powerful, and even Ling Feilong himself knew he was definitely not a match to Zhou Yuhu. However, Zhou Yuhu was still dispatched by Feng within a moment. This fight could not even be considered a proper fight. It was just a one-sided play. The suggestion of the entire class? Feng swept a glance towards his classmates standing to the side, coldly saying, "What were your suggestions?" Naturally, everyone would not stand on Ling Feilong's side. Even an idiot could tell how afraid Ling Feilong was of Shifeng. Fine, I admit defeat. It was I who was blind. You tell me what's to be done. Ling Feilong looked above the ring at the unconscious Zhou Yuhu, gritting his teeth while saying, if he were to come into conflict with Shifeng right now, he would not have any chance of resisting. He also did not believe that Shifeng would show mercy. If he had continued offending Shifeng, he would definitely be laying on a hospital bed for at least a month. When that time came, he would not be able to even participate in the city's fighting tournament, and such a loss was not something he was willing to bear. The 5,000 credits voucher for the Big Dipper Training Center awarded by the school, Shifeng demanded. The Big Dipper had the best nutritionist in Jinhai City. With this voucher, Shifeng could replenish the nutrients required by his body and quickly improve his physique. Ling Feilong was extremely unwilling to give away the Big Dipper voucher. This was an item that could not be bought outside, even with 10,000 credits. After receiving the voucher, Shifeng left the fighting arena. Shifeng started training his body immediately after returning to his rented apartment. After tiring himself out, he looked for information related to God's domain in Jinhai City on the internet. He was making ample preparations for his future development plan. It was especially true for the fellowship party this time around. He had to prepare sufficient information before the fellowship started. Otherwise it would be too hard to carry out his plan. When noon came, Shifeng ate his lunch and lay on the bed. He wore his virtual gaming helmet, starting his second day in God's domain. Chapter 50. The popular garrison armor. Dark clouds hovered over the skies of Red Leaf Town, surrounding the full moon that hung in midair. On the streets, magic lamps brightly lit up the town. Shifeng had just logged in. It was still nighttime in God's domain. A majority of the players were currently in the trade area, making the place very crowded. There were only a scant few experts who would hunt for monsters to level up at this time of day. During the daytime, the street of the trade area was desolate. However, that street had currently turned into a bazaar, bustling with noise and excitement. Players could be seen setting up stalls throughout the wide cobblestone street, and above their white sheets of cloth were some items required by auxiliary jobs and also a few pieces of common equipment. Buyers and sellers were bargaining with each other, and some faces even turned crimson over 1 or 2 copper system. The garrison armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 5 silvers 31 coppers has been added to your inventory system. The garrison armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 5 silvers 67 coppers has been added to your inventory system. The garrison armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 5 silvers 98 coppers has been added to your inventory. Before Shifeng had taken a step forward, a series of auction house notifications from the system entered his ears. Shifeng casually selected the system notifications to appear. Immediately becoming shocked, the garrison armor's value had totally exceeded Shifeng's estimates. Originally, Shifeng intended to have it sold for more or less 5 silvers. In reality, however, due to the competition and price growing fiercer, the garrison armor reached a maximum price of 6 silvers 42 coppers. The 11 garrison armor sold for a total of over 67 silver coins. The amount immediately turned Shifeng into the owner of a gold coin. He had become a goldenaire at the current phase of the game. The purchasing power of a single silver coin was astonishing. For a second-rate guild, their circulating funds would only amount to 60 or 70 silver coins. To properly develop their normal members during the initial periods of the game, the guilds were unable to stock up on too many copper coins. Such an action would only hamper the guild's future development. As for first-rate guilds, their circulating funds might only be around 1 gold coin. However, these funds would seem insignificant when it was used on tens or hundreds of people now. Shifeng was a true tycoon after a day of battle. A majority of the players were currently returning to town with their spoils of war. These players carried a lot of materials on their persons, and naturally, Shifeng would not let this chance get away. Shifeng casually chose a location with few people, setting his white cloth on the ground and starting up his stall to purchase materials. The highest leveled player right now should be at level 4, whereas the average player was still at level 2 and expert players at level 3. Hence, the materials they sold varied greatly. There were high-ranking goods, And there were also common goods. The current prices for high-ranking materials were very expensive, so Shifeng would naturally not buy them. Shifeng relied solely on himself to make the garrison armor, so the money he could earn was limited. However, Shifeng was just selling these pieces of equipment to accumulate some funds. Only when he had the funds could he earn more money buying magic essence, 6 coppers a stack, stones 10 coppers a stack. Also buying hard stones 23 coppers a stack, Shifeng shouted after hearing Shifeng's words. The players on the street crowded around him. One after another. Boss, I have 10 stacks of stones. How many stacks do you want? I have 6 stacks of magic essence. Do you want all of them? I have a stack of hard stones. After grinding in the wild for an entire day, magic essences and stones had become materials that polluted the street. Normally, players would sell these materials to NPCs, or save them up for practicing their own auxiliary jobs. However, materials such as hard stones were very rare. They were usually found in level 3 areas, only being dropped by kobolds or little rock monsters. There were 20 pieces of hard stones in a stack, and they were worth 20 coppers when sold to NPCs. Hard stones were used in forging. However, it was quite luxurious to use them at this stage of the game. Guilds very rarely purchased hard stones, so their prices were not very high. However, they would have a great purpose once players reached level 7. There were many special monsters in the level 7 monster areas, and it was extremely taxing on the durability of a weapon to fight against these monsters. A weapon would break when its durability reached 0. Once a weapon was broken, the chance of successfully repairing it was only around 20%. If failed, it would turn into scrap. Meanwhile, hard stones could be used to make whetstones. When used on a weapon, it could temporarily increase its damage. More importantly, it could recover a weapon's durability by 5 to 10 points. With the whetstone, players did not have to return to town just to repair their weapons, saving them a lot of time and also increasing their monster grinding efficiency. In Shifeng's previous life, hard stones were sold with extreme popularity. The price of whetstones increased with even greater speed, allowing many forgers to make a hefty profit. To quickly increase their levels and gain an advantage, Shadow Guild had also been butchered by those sharks. They could only grit their teeth as they bought the whetstones in this life. It was Shifeng's turn to make a huge profit. He was going to stock up these hard stones in advance. After purchasing materials for over an hour, Shifeng had a total of 80 stacks of magic essence and 120 stacks of stones. As for hard stones, Shifeng had only collected 12 stacks of them. A very small amount. Shifeng's bag was quickly filled. He had no choice but to make a trip to the bank's warehouse to store all these items. The bank's warehouse had a fixed space of 500 slots. Expanding the warehouse's space for the first time would give an additional 500 slots at the cost of 20 coppers. The second time was 1,000 slots for 50 coppers. Afterward, every 1,000 slots would cost 1 silver coin, and every additional 1,000 slots would result in a management fee of 10 copper coins per week. Currently, such an amount of money was nothing to Shifeng. Immediately, Shifeng expanded 3,000 slots, and in the future, he would have to pay a processing fee of 30 coppers every week. After storing all the materials, Shifeng ran towards the auction house. The auction house linked together all the small towns under the influence of White River City. Although there were few people who sold common materials here, there would surely still be some people who sold hard stones. Only, the prices they set were slightly higher. However, players would have no choice but to buy whetstones for their weapons when they reached level 7. So, Shifeng wasn't concerned about the loss of money. After arriving at the auction house, Shifeng discovered a very peculiar situation. There were quite a lot of logistics members of guilds present at the auction house. Each and every one of them were standing guard at the auction house, and it was a wonder what they were actually waiting for. Shifeng randomly chose a place to sit down, calling out the operating panel of the auction house. Just when Shifeng was searching for hard stones, he heard a few logistics members of guilds complaining to each other. How long more do we have to wait? Why is that garrison armor still not showing up? Let me buy it so I can report back. You've only waited for 3 hours. I've already been waiting here for more than 10 hours. You haven't seen the intensity of the competition for the garrison armor. I've heard because of this garrison armor, there were quite a few guilds who were able to kill many wild special elites, reaping astonishing gains. There was even a guild that managed to obtain quite a few pieces of equipment and skill books, thanks to the garrison armor. So everyone is here to fight over it. Unfortunately, The remaining few pieces of garrison armor have all been bought. Exactly. Our guild is currently regretting it dearly. If we had known how greatly we would fall behind to those guilds, we would have bought the garrison armor, even if we had to pay 7 silver coins for one. Now the higher-ups have already given the order. As long as the garrison armor appears, we definitely must buy it. During the discussion held by the logistic members, Shifeng was also surprised by the speed of the garrison armor, achieving his desired effect. Hence, Shifeng took out the remaining 7 garrison armor that possessed defensive power. He stealthily placed them on auction, setting the base price for each piece at 8 silver coins. 2 silver coins higher than his original estimation. However, these guilds should be able to accept such a price. As for the best garrison heavy armor, Shifeng would only sell it after a period of time has passed. He would first let these guilds slowly digest the current garrison armor. After placing the equipment on auction, Shifeng started searching for hard stones. Shifeng wondered if there were many players who had auctioned them off. Chapter 51 Competition at the Auction House. Shifeng called out the search panel, immediately entering the words, hard stone. Suddenly rows of information appeared on the semi-transparent screen. In a single glance, Shifeng could see over 100 stacks of hard stones being sold. There were many players selling them. When Shifeng saw a stack of hard stones selling for 1 gold coin, he felt such a player must have been driven insane by poverty. Immediately, Shifeng filtered the display to show prices from lowest to highest. After adjusting the display, the cheapest stack of hard stones still cost 26 coppers. After deducting the processing fees of the auction house, players could still receive 25 coppers. As expected, the prices were a lot higher than normal. However, Shifeng still had to buy them. He could afford them as long as the price was below 30 coppers. Suddenly, the number of hard stones available on the auction house had been reduced by a large half. The remaining ones were all selling for 30 coppers and above, and there was no spendthrift who would buy them. After looking at hard stones, Shifeng casually took at the miscellaneous section. Shifeng's eyes abruptly shone. There were actually card sets. Moreover, there was a large number of them. There was some chance for monsters to drop these card sets. However, the drop rate for it was extremely low. There was not even a 10,000 to 1 chance for one to drop. Monsters below level 10 were able to drop 12 card sets, and they were divided into 2 ranks. Bronze rank and Mysterious Iron rank warriors had Steel, Crusaders and Insanity weapon specialists had Chaos, Vengeance and Hurricane healers had Divine, Nature, and Noble mages had Element, Fool and Demon. These 12 card sets each represented the 12 different jobs. Every set had 9 cards in them, and each card had a number behind them. As long as a player could gather a complete set, they could exchange it for a piece of set equipment for the respective job. Back in those days, a majority of the players did not know what these card sets were for. Moreover, there was no introduction for these card sets. Players at that time simply kept these card sets in their bags or sold them at the auction house. Only when the normal mode of the 50-man level 10 dungeon near the city was cleared did these players discover there was actually an NPC that would trade for these card sets. Depending on the rank of the card sets, they could be traded for either bronze or Mysterious Iron set equipment. These set equipment were absolutely marvelous. A bronze set of equipment could rival an entire regular set of Mysterious Iron equipment, whereas a Mysterious Iron set of equipment could rival an entire regular set of Secret Silver equipment. So, these card sets that nobody cared about before suddenly turned ragingly popular overnight. Every card was sold at an astronomical price. Even so, many guilds were still frantic over them, constantly purchasing them. Meanwhile, there were hundreds of card sets currently displayed in front of Shifeng, yet there was actually nobody who wanted them. Each card was being sold at no more than 5 coppers, and even the maximum was 7 coppers. Shifeng bought them clean without hesitation. Shifeng did not think much of the cost. What's more, they would not increase in value even if he had left them in his bag. Using the money to grow money, now that was the way of the king. After Shifeng was finished with collecting hard stones and card sets, he was left with no more than 14 silver coins, following which Shifeng searched for skill books through the search panel to determine a player's strength in God's domain. Other than looking at their equipment, the number of skills they had learned was another factor. If a player possessed many skills, they could have a large variety of attack patterns to use in battle. An expert swordsman could usually utilize more than 20 skills in battle, whereas first-rate experts could use more than 40 skills in battle. As for the top-tier experts, they did not need to be mentioned. Shifeng was a first-rate expert, yet he possessed less than 10 skills. His condition was truly pathetic. However, there were very few skill books currently being sold. Under normal circumstances, players would usually use skill books on themselves or trade them for a skill they were able to use. Shifeng went through more than 10 pages in one go. As long as he saw a skill usable by swordsmen, he immediately bought them. When Shifeng arrived at the final page, his mind turned blank. Are you kidding me? Even defensive blade is being sold? Shifeng went wild with joy. The defensive blade was a swordsman's powerhouse skill. It was also a sure kill skill when dealing with mages. However, the skill also had a damnable drop rate. Even in his previous life, Shifeng only managed to get his hands on the skill after he was well over level 40. Shifeng truly did not imagine he would be able to see it now. Although the selling price was slightly high, 6 silvers was still acceptable to Shifeng. Shifeng immediately placed a bid of 7 silver coins. Not wanting to waste too much time, very quickly, Shifeng bought the skill for 7 silver coins. With the current purchasing power of 7 silver coins, Shifeng could buy 5 to 6 basic skill books. However, Shifeng spent them all on defensive blade without batting an eyelid. In addition to buying the rare skill, defensive blade, Shifeng also purchased 3 common skills: Observing Eyes, Windwalk, and Earth Splitter. On another note, while Shifeng was joyous over his purchase, the situation at the auction house started turning frantic. The logistic members of the various guilds were all crimson to their ears, their rage soaring to the skies. Crap, 9 silver coins still isn't enough to get this equipment. Which rich guild is it that paid 10 silver coins? You animals, why don't you take a look at my side? Someone's already bid 10 silvers and 65 coppers. These people are absolutely insane. I've only brought 10 silver coins with me. What should I do now that I can't complete my task? Abominable. They're hiding their names and placing only these few pieces of equipment on auction. How can I even snatch one? These people were the logistics members of unrated guilds. They were on the brink of insanity when they saw the larger guilds bid, each higher than the other. The most abominable person, however, was the creator of the equipment. Every time, this person only auctioned a few pieces of equipment. Previously, the competition over the equipment was already sufficiently intense. However, the garrison armor being auctioned right now had even better attributes, and their numbers were even less. The money they brought along to bid was absolutely insufficient, so how were they going to fight for the equipment? It can't be, right? Are there that many tycoons? Someone actually bid 11 silvers. Shifeng's joy reached the tips of his brows when he looked at how the garrison armor's price continuously increased. Within moments, the money he spent before had all been recovered, to the extent that it was more than before. Suddenly, Shifeng thought of the defensive blade. The average player definitely had no chance of obtaining such a rare skill for swordsmen, whereas guilds would not sell it even if they obtained it. The skill must have been sold by a certain guild to collect funds to buy the garrison armor. It's just that their actions once again benefited Shifeng. Within moments, all 7 garrison armors had their prices increased past 11 silvers. Such a price shocked even Shifeng himself. Where did so many powerful guilds suddenly come from? With the financial resources of such guilds, they ought to not spend that much money on a piece of bronze equipment. However, what Shifeng did not know was, after he had placed the garrison armors on auction, the logistics members of various large guilds reported the situation back to their guild leaders. Previously, these guild leaders saw the MT of other guilds tanking special elites with the garrison armor. These MTs were able to allow the other players to attack the special elites with ease, obtaining various skill books and bronze equipment, mysterious iron equipment even. At such a sight, the eyes of these guild leaders had long since turned red with envy. Unfortunately, they had no solutions to this matter. They wished to let the lifestyle players of their own respective guilds forge this equipment, yet they did not have the forging design for it. They also wished to contact the player who had forged these garrison armors, yet this player had hidden his name, preventing any means of contact. Their only choice was to watch on helplessly. Now, however, the garrison armor this time even possessed defensive power. They definitely must buy it. Hence, these guilds started gathering funds immediately. Do you hear me? You definitely must get it. Immediately bid 13 silver coins. I want to see who else dares to bid. What? Is it already at 13 silvers? Bid 13 silvers 50 coppers. I don't believe there is a guild that is wealthier than us. There were over 100 towns under the influence of White River City, and there were hundreds of guilds continuously bidding for the garrison armor. After half an hour, all 7 garrison armors were auctioned off, with the lowest being sold at 14 silvers 60 coppers. Shifeng earned more than 1 gold coin in an instant. Seeing how fervent these people were, Shifeng took the chance to place the garrison heavy armor on auction, setting its starting price at 16 silver coins. Following which, Shifeng left the auction house. It was still night, and there was about half an hour before sunrise. It was very unwise to go out and level right now, so Shifeng went to the library in Red Leaf Town first. He wanted to have a better understanding of the diary, which contained elvish words he obtained from the hell mode of the Deathly Forest. He might even obtain a new find. Chapter 52 Holy Sister. The journey to Red Leaf Town's library was very dangerous. If a normal player went there, there was a 30% chance for that person to die once. As for the remaining 70%, he would die many times hence. Before heading to the library, Shifeng stored all the hard stones and the Philosopher's Stone into the bank. The Philosopher's Stone would drop after death. If Shifeng had unexpectedly died on the way to the library, then it would be a major loss, following which, Shifeng took out the 4 skill books he bought previously and chose to learn them. Observing eyes, able to see clearly unknown and concealed targets. There is a fixed chance to detect target's weak point. Cooldown 40 seconds. Wind walk. The user is wrapped in wind. Movement speed increased by 30%. There is a 50% chance to avoid damage from ranged attacks. Duration of 10 seconds. Cooldown 2 minutes. Earth Splitter. Requires sword. Causes 30 base damage to target after use, and based on the period of charging power between 0.2 seconds to 3 seconds, a maximum of 300% weapon damage can be increased. Attack range of 8 yards. Cooldown 1 minute. Defensive blade. Requires sword. Normal attacks range increased by 10 yards after use. Able to block up to a maximum of 6 ranged attacks or 3 melee attacks. Duration of 25 seconds. Cooldown 3 minutes. With these new skills, Shifeng's survivability and attack potential greatly increased. Thus, the danger of him going to the library was no longer great. Red Leaf Town's library was distanced far from the trade area. It was located in Red Leaf Town's slums. The slums were the second most popular location after the trade area. There were all sorts of people there, and it was a place where crooks mixed with the honest folk. It was also the favorite visiting location of some players, and this was due to the slum's alternative name, Paradise of the Fallen. The moment Shifeng entered the domain of this paradise, from the corners of the street, he discovered eyes filled with greed directed at him. These were the rats hidden in the darkness, the ones unaccepted by the light, and the wanderers of hell's boundaries. There was bound to be a portion of players in God's domain that was different from ordinary person. They were neither interested in conquering dungeons, nor were they interested in the excitement that came from adventuring and risking one's self. The only thing these players were interested in was banditry. They would kill other players and plunder their equipment. Then they would sell it to others for a high price, making a bountiful amount of money during daytime. These players would hunt for and plunder the players with good equipment. At night, they would return to the slums to dispose of their stolen goods, then party with the money they just earned. They would brag about their harvest to display their own strength, using the chance to elevate their position in the slums. Ordinary players would never set foot in this place. If they did not possess sufficient strength, the only result would be a return via death. The reason being, this location was not protected by the guard. Shifeng simply glanced at the players hidden at the corners of the street. He discovered the indicators for all of these players were colored red. It was clear to see that they had done many kill and plunder deeds. Within God's domain, red players were not allowed to enter guarded areas. The equipment drop rate upon death for these players were also increased, and the penalty for death may be increased up to a maximum of 300%. Moreover, they would be apprehended and jailed by the guards if they were to enter guarded areas, and the duration they were jailed depended on their crime value. However, even with all these disadvantages, there were still many players who had chosen to go down this path. After all, the rewards came very quickly this way. Red players also had a place they could stay in Red Leaf Town. For example, the slums. Moreover, if one wished to receive a good quest in the slums, One had to be a yellow player or even a red player. Regarding these players who lived on the edge of a knife, Shifeng paid no attention to them. He immediately headed towards the main road of the slums. On both sides of the street, there were quite a few flirty ladies dressed in revealing clothes. When they noticed the clothing Shifeng was dressed in, they started flinging coquettish glances at his direction. They wanted to spend a pleasant night with Shifeng. Earning some coin along the way, little brother. Are you here for some fun? Come over here to Big Sister. Big Sister guarantees that you will have a pleasant night. An alluring lady dressed in vibrant red leather clothing blocked Shifeng's way. Shifeng immediately used observing eyes. Charlene, elite rank. Level 8. HP 1200/1200. Ha ha, Charlene, you're trying to sneak a bite again. How can you not invite us to such a happy occasion? A group of robust and fiendish men walked over, each of them carrying a cold grin on their faces. Is this a robbery? Shifeng took a look at his surroundings, calmly asking. He discovered himself already surrounded by NPCs. There were also a few red players by the corner of a broken house, sneers on their faces. In God's domain, it was very common for players to be robbed by NPCs. Moreover, it was also not Shifeng's first time being robbed by NPCs. The incident that left the deepest impression on him was when he was at Creation Mountain Range. It was there that he was robbed by an NPC warlord. At that time, Shifeng could only helplessly pay out a road toll. Currently, before him, there was a level 8 elite NPC in addition to a group of level 7 common NPCs. It was a scene very commonly to the slums, but Shifeng had nobody to blame but himself for coming to this place. Brat, since you look like an upright person, we won't trouble you too much. Hand out 5 silver coins and we'll let you pass. Otherwise, we'll personally take action, a scarred man said with a sneer. Then come over here and get it. Shifeng sneered as he pulled out the abyssal blade. If you were to pay the road toll, then congratulations. Not only would you lose your money, but you also had to lose your life. You would lose at least a piece of equipment that was on your person. This was the reason why normal players had a 30% chance of dying once in the slums. If you wanted these NPCs that wandered the boundaries of darkness to uphold their promise, there was definitely something broken with your brain. Charlene's attractive face revealed a trace of malevolence. Brat, you are courting death. A level 7 blade-wielding man rushed at Shifeng. Shifeng stabbed the abyssal blade towards the man without hesitation. Double chop, chop, thundering flash, earth splitter. Sword slash after sword slash pierced through the man's neck and heart. With a body fully geared with bronze equipment, combined with the abyssal blade's attack power, Shifeng's attacks had immediately reduced the man's 750 HP down to 0. Still want to continue? Shifeng glanced at the surrounding NPCs. Sneering, the NPCs were all shocked by Shifeng. They all parted and gave way to Shifeng, one after another. Meanwhile, the players hiding in a corner were also shocked. Shifeng had killed off a level 7 NPC in just a few moves. This player was just too strong. Naturally, these players would not find trouble with a player whom they knew was strong. In the slums, strength was everything. Stealthily, these players left the scene of the incident. Only Charlene stayed behind with an interested expression. Little brother, you are really powerful. You've made Big Sister truly admire you. I wonder where you are headed. Big Sister can guide you there and save you a lot of trouble, whereas you only have to pay a very small price. Charlene walked towards Shifeng, offering with a calm smile, no need to trouble yourself. I'm familiar with the way to the library. Shifeng did not wish to get entangled with these NPCs. He only wished to search for clues regarding the Elven Diary. Charlene smiled with even more joy when she heard Shifeng decline. I am the librarian, Charlene. You can ask me matters regarding the library. There is no one more familiar with it than myself. Charlene puffed out her prided twin peaks, smiling sweetly. Ascent Red Leaf Town's librarian, a holy sister? Shifeng did not believe her. Oh, are you talking about this? Charlene took out a set of nun's clothing and changed into it within an instant. Suddenly, her wild demeanor completely vanished. She was like an angel that had descended to the world, incomparably divine. Her presence made others desire repentance before her. At the same time, the information that Charlene displayed had changed. Holy Sister Charlene, Divine Official. Level 20. HP 10000/10000. Shifeng was also shocked. What kind of situation was this? Even NPCs had a side job. Chapter 53. Darkness Descends. Shifeng was still slightly unable to accept Charlin's makeover however. Shifeng could be considered lucky for being able to meet the rumored librarian. According to the information he knew, the librarian of Red Leaf Town was full of mystery, her whereabouts unknown. Shifeng never imagined the librarian to be the female NPC who participated in a robbery against him. If Shifeng had truly started a fight with Charlin just now, the consequences would be unimaginable. What did playing the pig to eat the tiger mean? Charlin was definitely a veteran in this field. Divine Official was the Tier 3 job advancement for an oracle. In the case of Swordsman it was called Sword King, whereas between these two was the Swordmaster. Even if a Divine Official was only level 20, she could still easily dispatch a level 50 lord. Perhaps Charlin was the most powerful NPC in all of Red Leaf Town. Do you believe me now? Charlin giggled at Shifeng. Her entire body radiated a golden glow, as if she were the reincarnation of Mother Mary. Since you have some business with me, let's talk about it at the library. System. Player has activated the epic quest, Darkness Descends. Contents unknown. Shifeng stumbled suddenly when he heard the system notification, nearly falling. What was the reason for him to actually trigger this epic quest? Darkness Descends was the famous epic quest of God's domain. From the information he collected from the internet and Shadow, the difficulty for completing this epic quest was truly unimaginable. Of course, the rewards were also unimaginably bountiful. In Shifeng's previous life, the person who completed this epic quest was the Spirit Emperor, Fantasy Extinguisher. He was a legendary character amongst summoners. He was globally ranked within the top 20 summoners and top 500 in the entire game during the peak of God's domain. Although he was only ranked within the top 500 within God's domain, it should not be looked down upon. The entire world had a total population of 100 billion. Although there were only 100 million players in God's domain currently, this number would increase past 10 billion in a year. In 3 years, the number of players playing God's domain would go past 30 billion. Being able to rank within the top 500, Fantasy Extinguisher was definitely an amazing expert. However, the thing that made Shifeng feel odd was why this epic quest was found here. Fantasy Extinguisher's starting location was not in Star Moon Kingdom. Instead, it was in Black Dragon Empire, which was far from Star Moon Kingdom. Black Dragon Empire was far more powerful than Star Moon Kingdom. Its landmass was 3 times that of Star Moon Kingdom's. The competition between players and guilds there was much fiercer. Could it be a reward for getting the first clear on the hell mode of a dungeon? Shifeng silently guessed as he followed Charlin. He felt it was a great possibility. Otherwise, why would an epic quest that should be found in Black Dragon Empire be found here in Star Moon Kingdom? At this moment, Shifeng's system communication rang. Shifeng took a look at the caller. Learning it was Gentle Snow contacting him. Miss Snow, do you have business with me? Seeing that you're logged on, I have something to tell you. Gentle Snow spoke in a very indifferent tone. She was like mysterious ice, unchanging even after 10,000 years and had no interest towards anything at all. I'm in need of money to purchase something, so I might need more time to return the 15 silvers that I owe you. At the latest, I will return it to you by the end of today. All right. If you are really in a bind, tomorrow is fine as well, Shifeng calmly replied. He no longer paid any heed to the 15 silver coins Gentle Snow owed him. Currently, he had more than 1 gold coin on his person, and he was troubled over how to spend it. Gentle Snow was slightly surprised by Shifeng's indifference even toward that much money. However, since Shifeng had already said so, naturally, she would not be courteous to him. She softly thanked him, saying, "Thank you. However, aren't you afraid I won't return it, causing you to lose everything? You are the Snow Goddess. Why would you even try to cheat an average player of such a small amount of money?" Shifeng said with a grin. "Oh, average? You dare call yourself average? Even I am shocked by the map and strategy you provided. We only spent an hour to clear the normal mode of the Deathly Forest, then went on to clear hard mode as well. Unfortunately, hell mode is just too hard. We could not clear it no matter what." Gentle Snow faintly smiled, saying, "I am very curious as to how you all managed to clear hell mode. If you said it was due to your party members' help, I would not believe you. To conquer the hell mode of the Deathly Forest, she especially rushed over elite members of Ouroboros from other towns. However, they couldn't get past the first chieftain rank boss, Willy, no matter what they did. Willy's damage was especially terrifying. Even a shield warrior fully equipped with bronze equipment could not tank it. Gentle Snow truly could not understand how Shifeng's party had cleared hell mode just lucky. Shifeng honestly said, since you don't want to say it, I still have to fight over a piece of equipment, so I won't speak with you any longer. Don't forget our dungeon appointment. Gentle Snow did not continue pursuing Shifeng about how he was able to clear hell mode. Just hard mode alone gave them a great harvest fight over equipment? Is it the garrison heavy armor? Shifeng casually asked. Then how did you know? Are you also fighting for this equipment? Gentle Snow nodded her head while saying, the attributes for this garrison heavy armor was too great. If they had this piece of equipment, there would not be much trouble when they entered the level 3 Wolfman dungeon. Shifeng knew he had said too much, but he remained calm as he replied, yes, but I didn't think there would be that many people competing for it. I've already given up on it by now. Indeed. The price has already reached 23 silver coins, and only a guild with strong funding will be able to buy it. I won't speak with you any longer. I still need to sell some items. Gentle Snow disconnected the call after finishing her piece. Meanwhile, Zhao Yueru, who sat beside Gentle Snow, pouted her delicate lips. She kicked up a fuss, complaining, Snow, why must you let that bastard join our team no matter what? That bastard was just lucky, and his skills are just average. He coincidentally encountered a small dungeon like the Deathly Forest that did not change much since the game's official release, and he very luckily cleared the hell mode of the dungeon. It would be pointless bringing him into the 20-man team dungeon. Also, the skill levels of his party members are just too miserable to even look at. They would definitely become a burden to our progress. The elite members of Ouroboros standing behind Gentle Snow also agreed with Zhao Yueru's words. They were the elites of Ouroboros. How could a group of average players compare to them? I feel that Big Brother Yifeng is not that simple. He was definitely humble when he said he cleared the dungeon due to luck. His skills are amazing, so it wouldn't be disadvantageous inviting him to join us. Zhao Yuer softly offered her personal opinion. Little girl, what do you know about liars? You just don't know how bad that bastard is. Also, he spent that much time just reaching level 1. His skills are only SOSO. This lady can insta-kill him with a single flame explosion. Zhao Yueru gave Zhao Yuer a stare, speaking confidently. Alright, stop arguing. I too feel Yifeng is not that simple. Otherwise, how could he clear the hell mode of the Deathly Forest with a group of novices? When we enter the team dungeon, we will see where his standards lay. If he is not bad, I might consider recruiting him into the God-slaying army. Now, however, let's first bid on this garrison heavy armor. Gentle Snow let out a soft cough. Everyone abruptly became silent, astonished. They never imagined that Gentle Snow would have such considerations. She was actually planning to let Yifeng join the God-slaying army. The members of the God-slaying army were the elites amongst the elites of Ouroboros. Each member had great skill, and they were experts who were selected out of tens of thousands of players. All of the guild's resources were prioritized on the God-slaying army. Aside from the guild leader and sub-leader, members of the God-slaying army had the most authority within the guild. Many experts in the virtual world struggled tirelessly to join the God-slaying army. However, a large majority of these people were all rejected. On the other hand, Yifeng, who suddenly appeared before them, actually possessed a very great chance of entering the God-slaying army, and such a sight had caused great envy within them. Chapter 54 Bible of Darkness. When Gentle Snow disconnected the call, Shifeng let out a breath of relief. Fortunately, he was not discovered. If Gentle Snow found out that Shifeng was the creator of the garrison armor, terrifying consequences might have occurred. Also, Shifeng did not doubt the possibility of Gentle Snow utilizing a forceful approach. The Snow Goddess was not an empty title. Her Iron Fist methods have tongue-tied countless experts. Otherwise, she would not have been able to take care of so many experts. However, Shifeng discovered an interesting matter from Gentle Snow's words. The many guilds in White River City have already started attaching great importance towards the garrison armor. This meant the reputation of the garrison armor had already spread. Currently, the garrison armor's popularity might have reached its peak. It was a great chance for Shifeng to sell the garrison armor in large quantities, earning a ton of money. After another period had passed, the garrison armor's worth would not be as great as it was now. Let's first take a look at the epic quest. Then I'll return to making the garrison armors. Feng impatiently wanted to return to making garrison armors now that a chance for him to make a lot of money had arrived. However, the epic quest currently before him was much more important. If he gave it up partway, he would definitely regret it for the rest of his life. This epic quest played a big role in allowing Fantasy Extinguisher a legendary achievement. Naturally, Feng would not let go of this chance meeting. After spending 20 minutes maneuvering along the narrow pathways of the slum area, Feng finally arrived at the library. On his way here, Feng discovered the wonder of having a divine official walking by his side in the slums. The NPCs who intended to rob him all backed away accordingly after seeing Charlin's attire. Otherwise, Feng would have needed to spend over an hour for this trip, continuously battling against these sewer rats. Moreover, these NPCs were literally dirt poor. Feng would not obtain any rewards for killing these NPCs, not even EXP. The library of Red Leaf Town had a withered appearance. The building only had 2 floors to it, and there was nobody present to manage it as dead leaves could be seen climbing the walls. Entering the library, dust and dirt covered the entire building. The books laying on the wooden table had long since been parceled up by a layer of dust. The library looked more like a haunted house than a place in which people once lived. Apologies. It has been a long time since anybody has visited, so I haven't been tidying up the place. Just sit wherever you want. Charlin faintly smiled as she pointed towards a dust-covered chair, not understanding that her action was very inappropriate. Revered divine official, I have come here because I wish to have this diary translated, Feng said, getting straight towards the point. His eyebrows slightly wrinkled when he looked towards the finger-thick layer of dust covering the chair. He truly did not wish to dirty his clothes. However, Charlin remained minding her own business as she searched for something on the bookshelf. It was like she did not hear Feng speak at all. Feng was long used to such behaviors, so he chose to remain silent. There were all sorts of NPCs in God's domain. It was especially true for important NPCs. Unique and bizarre behaviors were considered small matters. There were well-known NPCs that were much more damnable. These NPCs caused many first-rate guilds to curse their mothers. After waiting for 10 whole minutes, Charlin finally came out from the pile of bookshelves. In her hand she held a thick and tattered old book. I know why you are here. The moment you've set foot in the slums, I could sense the evil energy coming from your body, Charlin said gravely. She placed the tattered book on the table, causing all the dust in the building to abruptly soar. Let me have a look at the item. Feng naturally knew the diary triggered such a scenario. He took out the tattered diary from his bag, carefully passing it to Charlin. Charlin was not in a hurry to receive the diary. Instead, she chanted out a phrase of divine words. Suddenly, streaks of golden divine words wrapped around the diary. Just when Feng was wondering about Charlin's actions, a change suddenly came over the diary. Black smoke suddenly appeared on its pitch-black cover, and a sinister-looking face came into view. It looked as if it was in extreme pain. Evil be gone. Divine spear. Charlin shouted, her jade-like hand drawing out divine words in midair. At the same time, she started singing out a Tier 3 divine curse, her voice echoing throughout the entire library. A golden-colored hexagram appeared above the library, covering the entire building, and from the magic formation, 3 golden spears of judgment came flying out. The spears pierced the diary, tearing apart the sinister face. Ha ha ha, I won't give up. We will meet again. The sinister face loudly laughed as it spoke the bone-chilling words. Both of its eyes were firmly affixed toward Feng as if the words it spoke were meant for him. Within a moment, the black smoke above the diary dispersed. Meanwhile, Charlin's forehead was covered in sweat. Her complexion was deathly pale, and she currently looked extremely weak. System. You have been cursed by a great demon. All attributes reduced by 50%. Experience received from killing monsters reduced by 95%. System. You have been eyed by a great demon. The phantom of the great demon will come for you in 30 days. If you are killed by the phantom, your body will be taken over by the great demon. Crap. Make it more ruthless, why don't you? Regardless of how self-restrained he had been, Feng could not help but curse when he saw this notification. When compared to human standards, a great demon was the equivalent of a Tier 4 job. It was on the same level as a sword emperor. Although it was just a phantom, it would still require Charlin, who had a Tier 3 job, to handle it. However, instead of aiming for Charlene, the great demon actually went for a bystander and a minor character like Shifeng. With this curse around, how would he be able to level up? Not to mention the 50% reduction in attributes. It had caused his attributes to sink down to the level of an average player. It would be a problem if he wanted to kill monsters of a higher level. He also had to face the phantom of the great demon. Miss Charlene, are you alright? Although he was cursed, Shifeng still spoke politely. Charlene shook her head slightly, speaking with a smile, nothing too bad. I never imagined that you would actually bring such a terrifying item. You've weakened me quite a bit. However, the problem has been resolved now. If you had dragged on for a few more days, your body might have been possessed by the great demon, and your body would suffer in hell for all eternity. Thank you, Miss Charlene. If it weren't for you, I might have already been dead. Although Charlene's words felt somewhat wrong, Shifeng had still thanked her. He rejoiced at the fact that he had come to the library without delay. Otherwise, he would truly be finished. However, the problem right now had yet to be resolved. No need for thanks. This diary is not as simple as it seems. It is a key. And it records the method to unlock the curse on a gate. Your job now is to find this gate, enter through it with this diary, and find the Bible of Darkness that is kept within. I can destroy the Bible of Darkness as long as you retrieve it for me. Once it is destroyed, the great demon would not be able to descend, Charlene explained. System. Epic quest, Darkness descends, accepted. Find and destroy the Bible of Darkness and prevent the great demon from descending. Rewards unknown. Although Shifeng had known about the extreme difficulty of completing an epic quest, there was still no need for it to be so damnable. At the very least, the quest should tell him where to find the Bible of Darkness. In Shifeng's previous life, Fantasy Extinguisher had completed this quest in Black Dragon Empire. However, Shifeng couldn't just go to Black Dragon Empire. Even if he went there, the teleportation gates had not been activated at this stage of the game, so he would have to run there. However, even if he ran till his legs broke, he would still need to waste several months before he could reach the borders of Black Dragon Empire. Chapter 55 Moon Drip. Shifeng entered deep thought. He did not understand how Fantasy Extinguisher completed this epic quest in his previous life. Who the heck would know where the Bible of Darkness was stored? Moreover, in his previous life, the information Shifeng collected regarding this quest was very incomplete, so the parts he could use as reference were extremely limited. Currently, the evil curse Shifeng was shouldering even made leveling a problem. No matter what, he had to think of a solution to this problem. Otherwise, the problems he would face in the future would be even greater. Esteemed Miss Charlene, I am now cursed by the demon. Do you have any methods to resolve it? Shifeng calmed his heart. He turned to look at Charlene, who was currently in a delicate state, asking also, where can I find the Bible of Darkness? Even just a clue is helpful. Hearing Shifeng's series of questions, a bright smile appeared on Charlene's pure countenance. You sure have a lot of questions? Huh, you little bastard? It's not like I don't have a method to resolve your curse. However, you should know, to get something you have to give something in return. There is only one way to dispel the curse, and that is to carry out a moon drip. The moon drip is a ceremony that can dispel all magic and curses in the world. However, many materials are required to carry out this ceremony. I will provide the materials required, but in return you have to pay 3 gold coins as remuneration for my services. If you wish to obtain a clue to the Bible of Darkness, you have to pay an additional 10 gold coins as an information fee. Shifeng felt a chill going down his spine as he looked at Charlene's expression, which became more excited the more she explained. It was especially true for Charlene's eyes. Even if she looked incomparably pure right now, her appearance was still not enough to hide the burning desire within her eyes. In the end, one word still dictated everything: money. System. Do you wish to accept the quest to dispel the curse? Esteemed Miss Charlene, I am willing to pay the remunerations. What else could he have said? However, Charlene's asking price of 3 gold coins was just too high. There was not a single player in White River City who could afford such an amount right now. Since you are willing, then pay a deposit of 1 gold coin. Charlene stretched out her delicate hand without restraint. Seeing Charlene's actions, Shifeng suspected that she had some sort of X-ray technique. However, he had to pay the money sooner or later, So Shifeng reluctantly handed over 1 gold coin to Charlene. The moment Shifeng had handed over the money, he went from being a wealthy tycoon to being a poor peasant. Here, this is for you. You need to fill the energy within this thing first. It will lead you to the Moonlight Forest to collect 30 pieces of moonstone. It's fine if you just bring them back to me. Charlene took the shining gold coin with lightning speed, then took out a fist-sized crystal orb and passed it to Shifeng's system. Quest Moondrip accepted. You must collect 30 pieces of moonstone and 2 gold coins for Charlene. Upon completion, Charlene will dispel the evil curse of the great demon on you. Shifeng received the crystal orb and took a look at it. Teleportation magic orb. Able to teleport the user to and from the Moonlight Forest immediately after activation. Activation condition. 200,000 EXP needed to be stored. 200,000 experience points were enough to let the average player rise from level 0 to level 7 within an instant. To Shifeng right now, such an amount was asking for his life. Currently, the experience he obtained from killing monsters would be reduced by 95%. He would obtain absolutely no experience from killing monsters of the same level. As for elites, he would just be able to obtain around 10 EXP for killing one that was a level higher. That meant he would have to kill 20,000 elites that were 1 level higher than him to collect 200,000 EXP. How long would it take for him to kill that many? Moreover, there weren't even that many elite monsters in Red Leaf Town. It really is worthy of being called an epic quest? The difficulty is truly insane. Shifeng bitterly laughed. In Shifeng's previous life, Fantasy Extinguisher had the support of the first-rate guild, Fantasy Shrine. So, he was able to complete the quest after much difficulty. However, Shifeng did not have the support of a first-rate guild. It would be extremely difficult if he wanted to complete the quest. However, as long as Shifeng completed it, the rewards would easily outshine the troubles. The rewards for this epic quest resulted in Fantasy Extinguisher's fame. Although Shifeng did not have a first-rate guild supporting him, he was a reincarnated person. He still had quite an advantage over the other players. At the very least, he would not lose out to the first-rate guilds regarding earning money. It looks like I can only return and forge garrison armors for now. Shifeng kept the crystal orb and left the library. He planned to first earn enough gold coins before thinking of a way to store up 200,000 EXP. The sky outside was already bright by the time Shifeng returned to the trade area. Many players already left to kill monsters and level up, emptying the streets by quite a bit. Shifeng immediately went to the bank to retrieve the forging materials and the Philosopher's Stone. Just when Shifeng was headed to the Forging Association, a notification came from the system. The garrison heavy armor you have placed on auction has been sold. After deducting the processing fees, a total of 31 silvers 53 coppers have been added to your bag space. Is it worth that much? Shifeng was shocked. The level 3 garrison heavy armor was just a piece of equipment that had similar attributes to a mysterious iron equipment. At most it was worth 20 silver coins. Now, however, it had been sold for over 30 silver coins. One could just imagine how frantic these guilds were towards the garrison heavy armor. Shifeng's enthusiasm was further boosted with the arrival of this information. He could not help but wish he could immediately forge 100 pieces of garrison armor, selling them and making a big profit. Hence, Shifeng activated Windwalk as he rushed towards the Forging Association. Without hesitation, Shifeng reserved an intermediate forging room for 20 hours. If he did not reap the money of those guilds right now, he would not be doing justice towards his own reincarnation. Inside the forging room, Shifeng refined all the stone he collected, going all out as he forged the garrison armors. When the first garrison armor was successfully forged. System. Garrison armor has been successfully forged. Forgery proficiency increased by 2 points. Obtained 800 EXP. System. Do you wish to store the experience obtained in the teleportation magic orb? Suddenly, Shifeng halted the work he was doing. He called out the system interface. Taking a careful look, I obtained 800 EXP from forging. Shifeng placed a hand on his chin, pondering. Suddenly, he said with a smile, "How could I forget about this?" In a panic? The curse is only aimed at the experience obtained from killing monsters. It has no effect towards experience that is rewarded. Although a lot of time was needed to forge a piece of equipment, it was a different story if the success rate was very high. Shifeng's leveling speed at that time would be a lot faster than the average player. Even with the 95% experience reduction state he was currently under with such an opportune method in hand, the difficulty of the epic quest had been greatly reduced in an instant. Moreover, Shifeng had the Book of Forging. It could increase the success rate of forging the garrison armor up to 60%. With it, Shifeng's leveling speed would greatly surpass even the expert players. It would not be long before he would finish collecting the 200,000 EXP in such a way. Shifeng could earn not just money, but experience as well. It was killing two birds with one stone. It was absolutely great. Fantasy Extinguisher most likely did not imagine there was such a quick method to dispelling the curse. Thinking up to this point, Shifeng immediately adjusted for the system to distribute 100% of the experience he obtained to be stored in the teleportation magic orb. Then he picked up an ore and started happily forging equipment. Because of his improved mood, Shifeng's hands became much more nimble. The 100 refinement hammer in his hands was like a musical instrument, rhythmically beating out a moving melody. By the time Shifeng regained his sense of self, he was suddenly dumbfounded by the garrison armor before him. Chapter 56 Glimmer Chestplate. The current garrison armor before Shifeng was largely different than the previous ones. Its design had largely changed, and even the color had become a pale gold. This was absolutely not the garrison armor crap. Shifeng understood he had failed before. He was too absorbed into his own excitement while he was forging the equipment. He smashed the hammer in whichever way he wanted, giving the garrison armor a completely different appearance. He even felt good about it. Still, the appearance of this new plate armor looked extremely cool. It would definitely look majestic while worn, following which, Shifeng chose to identify the equipment's information. The system took a whole 10 seconds before giving a conclusion, this time unnamed, bronze rank plate armor. Level 3. Equipment requirement. Strength 12. Defense plus 23. Strength plus 3. Endurance plus 3. HP plus 120. Durability 35/35. Additional ability. Healing power. Healing effects received are increased by 10%, restricted to Shield Warriors and Guardian Knight system. Unnamed equipment has been successfully forged. Forging proficiency increased by 3 points. Obtain 1,100 EXP system. Congratulations! You are the first player to forge an entirely new piece of bronze equipment in God's domain. Obtain 3,000 EXP, rewarding 1 runic hammer, mysterious iron rank, that increases forging success rate by 5% system. Please give a name to the equipment you have created. You are also able to leave a personal mark on this piece of equipment. Shifeng was slightly shocked when he saw these notifications. He had unintentionally remodeled the garrison armor, and successfully at that. He even created an entirely new piece of bronze equipment. His luck was truly good. The attributes of this equipment had already reached the level of an average mysterious iron equipment. If only the materials used were not so poor, it would definitely have become a mysterious iron equipment in God's domain. Players were able to create equipment. However, this was an extremely difficult task to accomplish. Not only did the player have to be extremely familiar with forging, but they also had to have a thorough understanding of the various materials available. After undergoing hundreds of trials, only then could completely new and good quality equipment be created. Usually, players who wanted to create new equipment would only start to do so after they had risen to become an advanced forger. After all, to become a master forger, not only did a player require sufficient proficiency, they also needed to create 3 entirely new pieces of mysterious iron equipment, and also 1 entirely new piece of secret silver equipment. Only after all those conditions were achieved could a player become a master forger. Due to this condition, the players who became master forgers were extremely rare. Meanwhile, Shifeng unintentionally created an entirely new piece of bronze equipment. Of course, the Book of Forging's effect played a large part in contributing to this success, since the color has become a pale gold, and it's giving off a dull glow. Let's call it the Glimmer Chest Piece. Shifeng immediately confirmed the equipment's new name, after which, he left an imprint of a black flame at a corner of the equipment. This imprint was the equivalent of a forger's name. In the future, when others see this symbol, they would know that this equipment was created by Master so-and-so. At the same time, the symbol also served to prevent others from falsifying the equipment's original creator in the blink of an eye. The equipment's information also had a change to it. Glimmer Chest Piece. Bronze rank plate armor. Level 3. Equipment requirement. Strength 12. Defense plus 23. Strength plus 3. Endurance plus 3. HP plus 120. Durability 35/35. Additional ability. Healing power. Healing effects received are increased by 10%, restricted to shield warriors and guardian knights. On the right breast of the glimmer chess piece, the mark of a black flame appeared. The flame constantly faded in and out of existence, further enriching the aesthetics of the glimmer chess piece system. Black flame imprint has been successfully registered. This imprint has been bound to your gaming account, and nobody else is able to use its system. Naming successful. Forging design for the glimmer chess piece has been automatically generated. Player can now voluntarily draw the forging design for the glimmer chess piece, allowing others to learn the forging design suddenly. An additional window appeared in Shifeng's lifestyle panel. It was called Forging Design Creation, and it allowed players to create their own forging design. Shifeng felt endless ecstasy when he saw this new window. This was the benefit of creating something original. As long as Shifeng had a pen and drawing paper, he could fabricate as many forging designs for the glimmer chestplate as he wanted. This was the treatment that was only available for original creations. Forging designs were much more valuable than the equipment itself. In Shifeng's previous life, countless master forgers constantly researched various materials and used all sorts of methods to develop new equipment. Other than trying to become a grandmaster forger, their main goal was to obtain an original forging design. This item was the reason why some master forgers were extremely rich. The process of fabricating a forging design was very simple, and they could easily make tens to hundreds of them anytime they wanted. Otherwise, how much money could they make, even if they exhaust themselves by forging equipment every single day? With the glimmer chestplate forging design, earning 10 gold coins was a small matter. At that time, it was even possible for Shifeng to earn up to 30 or 40 gold coins. After all, there were a lot of players in White River City and no shortage of guilds either. Afterward, Shifeng continued forging glimmer chestplates, no longer forging garrison armors. Both of them required the same materials to make. However, the glimmer chestplate had a cooler-looking appearance and even came with an additional ability. There was another benefit for an original creation. When forging your own creation, the success rate for it was increased by 10%, and the equipment would also have a higher chance to come with an additional ability. As long as the glimmer chestplate's fame spread, Shifeng would have no trouble selling its forging design. Time passed. Bit by bit, Shifeng was completely unaware of his surroundings as he forged equipment. His heart was filled with the thoughts of money. 1 gold coin, 2 gold coins, 3 gold coins. Piece after piece of shining golden equipment piled up in the entire forging room. When 10 hours had passed since Shifeng rented the forging room, a loud notification had come from the system. Only then had Shifeng suddenly realized 10 hours had already gone by. His gains were even more shocking, however. He successfully made a total of 142 pieces of equipment, and the materials he had bought were nearly depleted. Amongst the attributes of the equipment, there were some that were good and some that were bad. The difference between them was the healing effects. The bad ones had 5% while the good ones had 12%. There were a total of 76 pieces that had their healing effects below 7%. 48 pieces that had their healing effects between 7% and 9%, and 18 pieces that were between 10% and 12%. These pieces of equipment filled up over half of Shifeng's bag space at the same time. Shifeng's proficiency also had a big increase, reaching up to 514 points. Shifeng was now halfway to becoming an intermediate forging apprentice. Shifeng took out the teleportation orb to have a look. The experience it had currently stored up was close to 150,000. As long as Shifeng continued putting in an effort for several more hours, he would be able to store up the 200,000 and immediately go to the Moonlight Forest. The speed at which Shifeng gained EXP was at least 2 to 3 times faster than the guild leaders of first-rate guilds. After leaving the Forging Association, Shifeng ran to the auction house. Currently, a majority of the average players should have already risen to level 3. Whereas many veteran players should have risen to level 4. Only expert players would be closing into level 5. After all, a lot of experience was required to rise from level 4 to level 5. The amount needed was at least 3 to 4 times the amount needed to rise from level 3 to level 4. Right now was the perfect time for Shifeng to sell the level 3 bronze equipment. The various guilds should also have amassed quite an amount of wealth after more than 10 hours had passed, so it was a good chance for Shifeng to make a big catch. If another period of time were to pass, the prices of equipment would most likely be greatly reduced. After arriving at the auction house, Shifeng noticed that the number of logistic players present significantly had reduced. It seemed as if they were no longer as enthusiastic towards the garrison armor as before. Fellow brother, why are there suddenly so few people at the auction house? Shifeng walked up behind a logistic player, asking. The tall and bespectacled logistic player was slightly surprised, explaining, "Have you been killing monsters outside town all this time? You don't even know about such a huge matter?" "Yeah, I've just returned after making some money from killing monsters and selling materials. Wasn't that garrison armor super popular? I too wanted to buy a piece." Shifeng nodded. "No wonder you don't know about it. 3 hours ago, a player called Hammer Trading had sold a lot of level 3 bronze plate armor equipment. Although the attributes on it were slightly weaker than the garrison armor, its price was extremely low, costing only 4 silver coins. Moreover, that player even announced that there would be discounts if you contacted him and ordered in bulk. Naturally, the various guilds all contacted him and ordered. That equipment is now extremely popular. So who would remain here and pay attention to the garrison armor?" Chapter 57. Hammer Trading. Hammer trading? Shifeng wanted to confirm once more. Correct. He even posted a thread on the forums criticizing the Black Heart forger that made the garrison armor. Currently, the thread has already received more than 7 million clicks. With it, that guy has quickly become a famous person in White River City. I heard many large guilds have already sent out an olive branch to him, trying to recruit him with a high price. The logistics player had a face filled with envy while he spoke. He couldn't help but wish he could turn into hammer trading. That way he would be able to live a life filled with beauties and riches. Shifeng only smiled at the player as he turned to walk towards an empty seat. He sat down and called out the game's official forum. He wanted to have a good look at this hammer trading who nearly robbed him of his business in Shifeng's previous life. Hammer trading did not reveal himself as quickly as this. Before Shadow scouted him, he had been playing God's Domain with tens of fellow schoolmates. With the support of these schoolmates, in addition to some chance meetings that had allowed him to become an intermediate forging apprentice, he managed to become acquainted with the upper echelons of Shadow. At that time there were very few intermediate forging apprentices. The bronze equipment that was forged at the time was also very popular. Seeing such a situation, Shadow also wanted a share of the profits. So they paid a large price to hire Hammer Trading. Along with the continuous support of Shadow Workshop, Hammer Trading grew to become a shocking figure, becoming a relatively famous forger and earning Shadow a lot of money afterward. Hammer Trading also obtained the forging talent in addition to the great support from Shadow, allowing him to become a master forger. During those times, he did not have the slightest hint of respect for Shifeng, who was the guild leader of Shadow at that time. In the end, with the strong support of Hammer Trading, along with several master forgers and master potion makers, Lanhua financial groups gladly agreed to World Dominator's acquisition of Shadow. Otherwise, Lanhua financial groups would not have agreed to the decision without hesitation and dismissing Shifeng. At the same time, Shifeng opened the forums for Star Moon Kingdom, his heart lamenting over how fate was toying with him in this life. Just when the garrison armor was beginning to sell like hotcakes, Hammer Trading appeared to break off his road to wealth. Shifeng couldn't help but admit that he and Hammer Trading were rivals in life. Shifeng stole the forging talent from Hammer Trading, whereas Hammer Trading turned around to break off his road to wealth. Browsing the forums of Star Moon Kingdom, Shifeng quickly discovered a thread marked in red, positioned at the top of the forum. Upholding justice starts from us. We absolutely cannot let this Black Heart forger do as he pleases. I am a forger with a kind heart. These large, bright red words caused Shifeng's brows to furrow. What kind of trouble is he trying to cause here? The number of clicks exceeded 10 million. Out of curiosity, Shifeng had opened the thread. Shifeng looked at the eloquently written condemnation that had over 10,000 words. The article had justifiably mentioned that the cost of making a piece of bronze equipment did not even exceed 1 silver coin. However, the Blackheart Shifeng sold his equipment for up to 30 silver coins. He was ripping off other players. Hence, Hammer Trading wanted to oppose Shifeng. He was even willing to sell level 3 bronze equipment without limit. Only, due to the failure rates, he had no choice but to sell them at 4 silvers apiece to reclaim his cost of making. This article received the support of a lot of players. They had all declared that they would no longer purchase the garrison armor, and that they would support Hammer Trading's actions of kindness. Shifeng was speechless after reading the entire article. The entire article was just trying to put a smear on his reputation, while heightening Hammer Trading's own self. At the same time, Hammer Trading wanted to state that he, too, could forge bronze equipment. He was clearly trying to use Shifeng as a stepping stone to raise his own worth and fame. He wanted to let the many large guilds extend an olive branch to him, and in turn, raising his own worth. However, Shifeng had to admit that hammer trading had succeeded. Not only had his fame risen in a burst, but many second-rate guilds had also sent him an invitation. There were even a few first-rate guilds who were willing to discuss matters of cooperation with hammer trading. Crap. Not only has he broken off my path to wealth, he still wants to use me as a stepping stone. Shifeng could no longer hold back his 2 lifetimes worth of rage. He wanted to properly teach hammer trading a lesson. Did he think he was awesome for selling level 3 bronze equipment without limit? Shifeng did not wish to have any relation with hammer trading if he did not try to use Shifeng as a stepping stone. However, now that he had provoked Shifeng, he must be ready to pay the appropriate price. Shifeng felt it was just hilarious when he looked at the statements and numbers provided by hammer trading. Basic forging apprentices only had a 5% success rate when forging a piece of level 3 bronze equipment. However, looking at the numbers provided by hammer trading, it could be seen that he did not possess just a forging design for a piece of bronze equipment. He must have also obtained an item that increased the success rate for forging. In addition to using the intermediate forging room, his success rate should be around 20%. That was why he dared to spout nonsense and brought out several pieces of equipment for auction to prove his words. However, according to Shifeng's estimates, to raise his reputation, hammer trading was taking a loss of 1 silver coin for every piece of bronze equipment he sold. Although Shifeng did not know how much funding hammer trading had, he was still 10 years too early from competing with Shifeng selling at 4 silver coins. Is it? Shifeng would sell his equipment at 4 silver coins as well. He had the Philosopher's Stone and the Book of Forging, so his initial cost was just slightly more than 10 coppers. Including his terrifying success rate, Shifeng was looking forward to seeing who had the last laugh without holding anything back. Shifeng immediately posted a thread on the forum anonymously. The article was titled "Shockingly High-Quality Plate Armor on Auction House." Afterward, he called up the interface for the auction house, placing 20 pieces of the worst glimmer chestplate on auction. The healing power on the glimmer chestplate had a remarkable effect on MTs when inside a dungeon. It was even better when compared to the garrison armor. When compared to hammer trading savage chestplate, it was more than 2 times better. Players would naturally know which equipment to choose when they saw the glimmer chestplate hammer trading. Didn't you want to be famous? I'll let you become super famous. I'll turn you into a celebrity. Shifeng revealed a cold grin as he closed the interface. He turned around and left the auction house, setting up a stall outside to purchase stones and hard stones. 2 minutes after Shifeng had posted his thread, a few players noticed Shifeng's post. Average players were still very attentive towards high-quality equipment. Currently, the average player did not even possess a piece of bronze equipment, not to mention high-quality equipment. So, naturally, they wanted to get a glimpse. The moment these players arrived at the auction house, they were stupefied by what they saw. The attributes on the glimmer chestplate was just too good, especially the healing power. It was definitely the most beloved ability for an MT when inside a dungeon. After they finished looking at the attributes, the players chose to try wearing it. They looked at their own appearance when wearing the glimmer chestplate. Streamline mold, dashing figure, and even a faint radiance coming off their bodies. There was also a flickering black flame on their left breast. They looked absolutely awesome. It was as if they had become the heroes from Legends while wearing the glimmer chestplate, valiant and powerful. Then, they looked at the selling price. It actually only required 4 silver coins. These players did not dare believe their eyes. Such high-end equipment was only selling for 4 silver coins. If they did not buy it, they would be doing a disservice to their own lives. Even if they did not have much money on their persons, they were willing to sacrifice everything they had to buy the glimmer chestplate. Within a short 15 minutes, Shifeng's post had become the topic of the forum. There were even players who posted the information and appearance of the glimmer chestplate, the equipment instantly arousing everyone's exclamation. Shield warriors and guardian knights could not help but wish they could obtain this high-end equipment right that instant. However, when they wanted to go to the auction house and buy it, there were only 4 pieces of the equipment remaining. Moreover, every one of those pieces had their prices bait up to more than 6 silver coins. One MT from an elite party had reluctantly chosen to borrow money from all over the place. In the end, he successfully won a piece for 7 silver coins. When the glimmer chestplate arrived in his hands, he no longer minded the money he owed for it. With such attributes and dashing appearance, he would not have any troubles earning money in the future. Thinking up to this point, the smile on this shield warrior spread widely. Chapter 58 Equipment Competition. Just a short 20 minutes after Shifeng placed the glimmer chest plates on auction, all 20 pieces of them had been sold off. The glimmer chest plates' popularity was far better than the garrison armor. There were even quite a few players showing off their purchases on the official forum previously. These players had to beg, using various methods, to join a party. Now, however, with their majestic-looking equipment, a simple shout would garner them tens of invites from elite parties for their own choosing. Following the glimmer chest plates' rise in popularity, the players that failed to buy one were all beating their own chest in anguish. They hated themselves for not borrowing money to buy the piece of equipment, since right now it was no longer being sold. Meanwhile, the Forging Association in Golden Sand Town was packed with people. The spacious hall was entirely occupied by players. The players present were the spokespeople for various guilds. They were here for only one purpose, and that was to invite hammer trading to their guild. Amongst the guilds present, there were quite a few that were very famous. There was no lack of spokespeople for third-rate guilds. If it were during ordinary times, these spokespeople would act proud and arrogant. They would use a condescending attitude when dealing with lifestyle players. Even so, these lifestyle players would still treat them with great respect. They would even shed tears of emotion, pledging their loyalty to the guild as they quickly signed the contract, becoming a part of a large guild. However, the current trend of the game had changed. The higher-ups of the guild strongly emphasized that they, the spokespeople, must definitely invite hammer trading. Otherwise, they could start packing up their bags. Hence why these guild spokespeople were like obedient grandchildren, standing and waiting in the hall for hammer trading summons, inside an intermediate forging room on the second floor. Brother Hammer, you're so awesome. I admire you so much. Before, those third-rate guilds would not recruit you no matter what. Now they're just like grandchildren waiting upon you. They would not leave even if you chased them away. A sexy female cleric in her mid-20s hugged around hammer trading's robust arm, giggling and speaking with admiration. Her bulging chest was rubbing against his arm. Hammer trading had a very brutish appearance. He had a thick beard and beady eyes, and his skin color was similar to yellowish wax. Judging from his appearance, he looked to be over 30 years of age. Nobody was able to tell, however, that hammer trading was just a university student in reality. His age was just slightly over 20. This is just a small matter. However, I truly have to thank the fool who opened the road for me and has even hidden his name. He made all the large guilds know of my importance. Hammer trading heartily laughed. He silently praised his own intelligence and wisdom for being able to think up of a plan to utilize that anonymous forger's fame. It allowed him his current good fortune, becoming every player's idol. Wait till I've entered a first-rate guild and rise into their upper echelons. It will be truly awesome. Right now, I'm just showing a small part of my prowess. Let those third-rate guilds continue waiting outside. I can use them to raise my own value and fame. Boss, what are we going to do about all the orders we've received? An assassin asked. Hammer trading rolled his eyes at the assassin, saying in disdain, who cares about them? I'm taking a loss of 2 silver coins per piece of equipment. Do they think I'm running a charity? My goal has already been met. I'm only waiting for the first-rate guilds to come. Don't bother with the other players. Just tell them that we're too busy and don't have time. To use Shifeng as a stepping stone, hammer trading used up all the silver coins belonging to his classmates. He also spent a lot of credits to purchase a lot of materials in silver coins. Yet, he only forged over 10 savage chest plates from all those materials. So selling each piece at a maximum of 4 silver coins caused a major loss for him. However, all his sacrifices were worth it. As long as he was recruited by a first-rate guild, he could get as many materials as he wanted, a huge salary, and even a line of female players desiring his attention. Hammer trading felt invigorated just from thinking of all these benefits. Suddenly, a berserker entered the forging room with a panicked expression. What happened, Hadron? Seeing as you're in such a hurry, has the upper echelon of a first-rate guild arrived? Hammer trading teasingly asked. Big trouble. A lot of top-tier equipment has suddenly appeared at the auction house. All the players on the game's official forum are discussing it now, and the number of clicks on the post is madly increasing. The post has over 5 million clicks right now, and many guilds have started to notice it. Moreover, the equipment is being sold by the same anonymous forger. The equipment's price is set at a minimum of 4 silver coins. Everyone is starting to wonder about the identity of the forger responsible, and they are no longer paying any attention to you, boss. Moreover, there are already a few first-rate guilds who made a declaration on the forum. They are willing to hire that forger with a high salary and make him the chief forger of their guild. A few representatives of large guilds downstairs have also started leaving for the auction house. Hammer Trading's expression froze when hearing Hadron's words. He only managed to attract the attention of first-rate guilds after much difficulty. However, now that anonymous forger stole his wind. If he did not steal it back, those first-rate guilds would most likely forget about him. He has such nerve to steal my wind and position. Don't blame me for not being polite. Making that kind of top-tier equipment has a high cost and low success rate. If you sell it at 4 silver coins, then I'll sell at 3 silver coins. I wonder just how much you can afford to lose? Hammer Trading abruptly stood up. He wanted to let Shifeng know he would definitely not let the position of chief forger and his future happiness go. He was already taking a loss of 2 silver coins for making the savage chestplate that had inferior attributes. Then Shifeng would at least lose 4 to 5 silver coins for selling each piece of top-tier equipment at 4 silver coins. Maybe even more. Hammer Trading believed he could outlast Shifeng, but, boss, we don't have many silver coins remaining. At most, we can afford to forge 10 more savage chest plates. Hedron worryingly said, what is there to be afraid of? I still have some funds. Worst comes to worst, I'll spend some more credits to buy materials and silver coins. I believe I can get rid of that little bastard. For every piece of equipment that little bastard sells, he's taking a loss of at least double or triple of ours. Why should we be afraid? Hammer Trading confidently asked. He assured himself that Shifeng, too, was trying to attract the attention of first-rate guilds by doing such lossful business. However, he would definitely be the final champion an hour later. A few additional savage chest plates appeared on White River City's auction house. Their minimum selling price was 3 silver coins each at the same time. A new post appeared on the game's official forum for the benefit of the masses. I, Hammer Trading, have decided to sell the savage chest plate at 3 silver coins each. I will make a stand against this black heart forger to the end. Requesting support. Requesting encouragement. Suddenly, a wave of players followed the post, sending it to the top of the forum. Every one of them supported Hammer Trading's kind actions. As a result of this incident, all of White River City became lively. Everyone understood this was a competition between 2 forgers that were capable of forging bronze equipment. Every player in White River City watched on with anticipation. The ones who would profit from this exchange in the end would definitely be them, the players. It would not be long before they would be able to purchase bronze equipment at a low price. The various guilds also started watching by the sidelines, no longer expressing any of their intentions. They were all waiting for the final victor, while at the same time buying all of the equipment and developing their guild's strength. However, Shifeng himself did not know of this matter. He just finished purchasing stones and hard stones. Just after entering the auction house, he discovered that the number of players there had once more increased. Only then did he find out about this incident. You wish for a fight? Shifeng faintly smiled. Then come. He called out the auction house's control interface, placing all of his glimmer chest plates on auction. He assigned 20 pieces to be sold every hour, selling a total of 120 pieces of glimmer chest plates. Such a number was definitely enough to torment Hammer Trading afterward. Shifeng used the money earned from selling glimmer chest plates to buy hard stones and card sets. After purchasing all these items, Shifeng suddenly discovered that he still possessed a little more than 1 gold coin. From time to time, Shifeng would receive a notification from the system. It would state that another glimmer chest plate had been sold, and some amount of silver coins have been deposited into his bag. Shifeng felt, the more silver coins he spent, the more silver coins he had. The amount he did not seem to be decreasing in the slightest. Shifeng considered selling some of his silver coins at the trade center, exchanging it for some spending money in real life. It was much better than just holding on to these silver coins. Chapter 59 Violet Cloud. Although Shifeng was having a relaxing time selling equipment, Hammer Trading was not to compete with Shifeng. Hammer Trading was constantly forging new savage chest plates. The silver coins in his hands were no different than copper as they disappeared in a flash. Hammer Trading also had to spend credits to purchase more silver coins, giving him an immense heartache. However, when he thought of Shifeng spending much more than him, his heart soothed by a lot. He wanted Shifeng to go bankrupt. Meanwhile, Shifeng left the lively auction house. He arrived at the bank, storing all the card sets and heartstones he had collected into his warehouse. Shifeng was extremely excited as he looked at over 1,000 slots of his warehouse filled. This was the benefit of being reincarnated. In his previous life, he in a miserable state thanks to these items. Now, however, they became one of his biggest sources of income in the eyes of others. These items were still worthless. However, they would be priceless in the future. Their values could increase by over 10-folds, even tens of folds. It was especially true for card sets. A complete set would be worth tens of times more than a single piece. Even so, the large guilds would still have a hard time obtaining them. After he was finished storing the items, Shifeng made a trip to the grocery store. He bought 5 stacks of white paper and 1 stack of pen and ink. These 2 items could be bought at extremely low prices at the grocery store. A stack of 200 white papers only sold for 10 copper coins, whereas a stack of 20 bottles of black ink sold for 15 copper coins. The best feathered pen also only sold for 20 copper. Even so, Shifeng's casual purchase far exceeded the daily income of an average player. An average player would definitely be unable to spend in such a way. However, to Shifeng, these copper coins could no longer be considered money. Moreover, these items were all necessary for making forging designs. Shifeng would still buy them, even if they cost 10 silver coins. After buying the items, Shifeng headed for the Forging Association. Sir, do you need any cooling beverages? I have here the best fruit juice in Red Leaf Town. It tastes extremely good, and it is only 1 copper coin per cup. A fragile-looking young lady nervously asked a male guardian knight. The girl was holding onto a small basket, her doll-like eyes carrying with them earnest expectations as she looked at the man. Scram. Don't annoy me. It's just a virtual item, moreover a beverage. Yet you are actually charging 1 copper coin for it? I wouldn't want it even if you were giving it for free. The guardian knight cursed in rage, pushing the 16 or 17 years old girl away. He then added, my luck is just bad. Just you wait and see. I'll take care of you if I don't get to buy a glimmer chestplate because you delayed me. The girl that was pushed down but did not cry. Instead, she stood up without wavering. She clapped the dust off her clothes, proceeding to another player with a smile on her face. Shifeng was faintly shocked. He never imagined the girl to be so tough. The average female player usually would not carry out such laborious tasks, not to mention receiving the insults from other players. When Shifeng looked at this girl, he was reminded of his own past self. Shifeng used observing eyes on the girl Violet Cloud. Level 1 cleric. Shifeng's heart slightly tightened when he saw this name. This girl was actually Violet Cloud, one of the top 10 clerics in God's domain. If he could recruit her to his side, his team would have a considerable future. Ha ha ha. This is a virtual game. Yet you're actually trying to earn money by selling cold beverages? Do you think you're milk tea, sister? Only idiots would buy them. Seeing that you're good looking, why don't you come over to my place tonight? I can even give you 1 silver coin. A lecherous man in his 30s walked up to Violet Cloud, drooling as he harassed her. Sir, I am only selling cold beverages. Please have some self-respect. Violet Cloud retreated a step, resolutely saying, given you praise, yet you're still headstrong. You're but a lowly lifestyle player. If you don't agree with me today, then you can forget about doing business here in the future. The lecherous man threatened in rage. He blocked Violet Cloud's path, staring at her snow-white neck and licking his lips. How could you act in such a way? You are simply shameless. Violet Cloud's eyes were filled with anger. However, she could not win against him in a fight. If she were to continue wasting time here, even her final hope would be gone. I am shameless. What are you going to do about it? Bite me? The man felt even better when he looked at Violet Cloud's panicked expression. Watching Violet Cloud trying to hold back from crying and the tears that were rolling about in her eyes, she became even more lovable. Uncle, please give way. I want 1,000 cups of fruit juice. Shifeng used observing eyes on the lecherous man. His name was displayed as Drifting Blood, and he was currently level 3. At this stage of the game, his level was considered relatively good. Drifting Blood turned towards Shifeng, sending him a glare saying, "Brat, this girl is mine. If you don't wish for something to happen to you, then scram. You want 1,000 cups? Then I want 10,000 cups. Do you think you're a tycoon capable of simply taking out 10 silver coins? If you continue competing with me like a fool, I'll send you back to level 0. If fighting were not prohibited within the town, he would have long since gotten rid of Shifeng. Ha ha ha. An amusing show this early in the day. Go for it. Don't hold back. Don't argue if you can fight. What a tycoon spending 10 silver coins just like that. Unfortunately for him, he's angered Fatty Bear of Martial Union. There's going to be an amusing show to watch. Dog's Fart Tycoon. I bet he's just boasting to impress the girl. If he can really bring out 10 silver coins, I'll live stream myself eating shit. Quite a few busybodies stopped to watch the occurring scene. They all started a discussion about Shifeng's action. Shifeng did not pay any attention to Drifting Blood at all. He grabbed Drifting Blood's shoulder, applying a slight force before Drifting Blood could react. He was already kneeling on the ground. No matter how much strength he used, even to the point where his face had turned beet red, he still could not stand back up. The surrounding onlookers were immediately dumbfounded. Shifeng was just too courageous, directly taking action within the premises of Red Leaf Town. Was he not afraid of being caught and jailed by the guards? Also, how did Shifeng possess such immense strength? He had actually suppressed a level 3 Guardian Knight with a single hand. Brat, you're dead for sure. Just you wait till the guards arrive. Drifting Blood looked towards Shifeng, smiling in disdain. However, after waiting for some time, the guards had still not shown up. Shifeng paid no attention to Drifting Blood as he firmly pressed him onto the ground, preventing him from even moving. Shifeng looked towards Violet Cloud, his other hand holding out 10 silver coins, saying 1,000 fruit juices, thank you. The players on the street, who were previously discussing amongst themselves, suddenly turned silent, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. This was 10 silver coins, not 10 copper coins. Currently, they had felt extremely wealthy to even have a single silver coin on their person. On the other hand, Shifeng had just simply taken out 10 silver coins. How rich was Shifeng? Was he really a brother tycoon? Violet Cloud rubbed her eyes. She looked at the 10 coins in Shifeng's hand that gave off a silvery glow. Her expression filled with incomparable shock. Originally, she thought Shifeng was just trying to help her by saying so. Never would she have imagined that he would truly take out 10 silver coins to buy 1,000 cups of cold beverages that nobody wanted. Drifting Blood was similarly shocked. However, that shock quickly turned into greed. He thought about snatching the 10 silver coins and using them to buy a glimmer chest plate. There would even be leftovers remaining. Brat, I'm a member of Martial Union. If you don't want to be killed back to level 0, then immediately give me 20 silvers. If you do so, I can consider letting you off this time. Otherwise, you'll have to take responsibility for the consequences. Drifting Blood's gaze was affixed to the 10 silver coins as he threatened in a chilling tone. Paying no attention to Drifting Blood, Shifeng looked at Violet Cloud. Seeing that the girl did not react, he asked, do you not have that much fruit juice? I only have 156 cups of fruit juice with me. How about you give me a silver coin, and I'll sell all of the fruit juice to you. Is that all right? Violet Cloud worried that she would anger Shifeng. What would she do if he suddenly decided not to buy? At the same time, she also wanted to thank Shifeng for helping her, so she reduced her selling price. All right. I wonder how long it would take for you to make 900 cups of fruit juice? I want all of them. Shifeng nodded after some thought, asking. The surrounding players were all dumbfounded. What was he planning to do? Did this brat know the value of 10 silver coins? Did this brat truly fancy this young lady? I'm very slow at compounding fruit juice. If Sir is willing, I can be done in 30 hours. Violet Cloud became extremely glad at Shifeng's words. However, when she thought of her extremely slow speed, she worried that Shifeng would no longer wish to buy them. So she stretched out 5 fingers hurriedly, saying, how about this? I'll just charge you 5 silver coins for 900 cups. Chapter 60 NPC. Looking at Violet Cloud's panicked expression, Shifeng could not help but break into a laugh. No need. I can still afford to pay such an amount of money. If you really sold them to me for 5 silvers only, then you wouldn't be able to earn much. Shifeng waved his hand. Shifeng was not in a hurry to turn Violet Cloud into one of his subordinates. However, he was absolutely not going to let her go. If Shifeng acted too impatiently, he might cause her to grow suspicious of him. So it was better to deepen their relationship first. Nobody could have imagined that Violet Cloud, one of the top 10 clerics in God's domain, would have such an appearance. A cleric god. That was a genuine tier 6 job. After 10 years passed, there were only a few who reached that standard. Even Fantasy Extinguisher was just a spirit saint at the pinnacle of tier 5. 10 years later, however, as a future cleric god, Violet Cloud was actually a lifestyle player during the initial periods of the game. It was such a waste of talent. Normally in God's domain, only players without any skills would earn money through methods other than killing monsters. However, the popular auxiliary jobs usually had very high requirements, such as a lot of funds, coupled with extremely low success rates. It was extremely hard for a player to survive in such a way without the support of a guild. Meanwhile, auxiliary jobs such as chef was much easier. The cost to support it was also extremely low, and players alone could be supported by it by themselves. If their talents were high, and they were capable of creating delicious cuisines, they could still earn quite a lot of money in God's domain. However, delicious cuisines usually required advanced cooking recipes and materials. These items were hard to obtain, so trying to earn a lot of money would not be easy. It was truly hard to imagine that a future cleric god would be such a clumsy young lady. He recalled that Violet Cloud was one of the members of Ouroboros during her first 3 years in God's domain. When the snow goddess left Ouroboros, Violet Cloud similarly left the guild. From then on, she was just a solo player. When she had become a tier 4 great cleric, countless first-rate guilds tried recruiting her with shockingly high prices. Ouroboros also tried countless times to invite her back. Unfortunately, Violet Cloud did not pay attention to any of them. Her actions greatly angered those first-rate guilds. Since they could not obtain her, they would destroy her. Hence, they sent many experts to assassinate Violet Cloud. Unfortunately, not only did Violet Cloud not get destroyed, instead, she became even stronger. She massacred the players sent by these guilds, giving them a crushing defeat. Not long after, she advanced her job to tier 5, becoming a brilliant cleric saint. This caused those first-rate guilds to become even more helpless. In the end, Violet Cloud became a tier 6 cleric god. At that time, she searched for all those first-rate guilds to have her revenge. These guilds could only pay the price of blood to quell this matter. From then on, Violet Cloud became one of the top 10 cleric gods in the entire world. This incident caused the upper echelons of Ouroboros to greatly regret not asking her to stay all those years ago. As a result of this incident, everyone made fun of the inability of the upper echelons of Ouroboros. Instead of utilizing those with potential, they were only using those bootlickers whom they were fond of. In the end, they had missed the chance to become a super guild. However, Shifeng could not find a guild insignia on Violet Cloud's person right now. In addition to Violet Cloud's current appearance, Shifeng could guess Violet Cloud must have been discovered by the snow goddess later on, which in turn resulted in Violet Cloud feeling indebted to the snow goddess. Hence, Violet Cloud left Ouroboros when the snow goddess stopped playing God's domain. Meanwhile, Violet Cloud currently had yet to meet the snow goddess. It was the perfect chance for Shifeng to recruit her. Even if Violet Cloud was unskilled now, she had the potential to become a cleric god. As long as she was properly nurtured, she would definitely be able to become a cleric god in the future. Violet Cloud was no idiot. When she heard Shifeng saying so, she stared at Shifeng in a panic, both her hands covering her poorly developed chest as she retreated a step. Sir, aside from selling fruit juice, I won't be selling anything else. If you are regretting it now, you can take back your money. Violet Cloud handed over the silver coin she had just received. However, her eyes still carried with them a hint of unwillingness, as she did at her time of despair. A person suddenly emerged, saying that he wanted to purchase 1,000 cups of fruit juice. Moreover, he was even willing to wait for 30 hours without reducing her pay. She would not believe Shifeng had no ulterior motives. Even if she were beaten to death, forget Violet Cloud. Even the surrounding players would not believe it. If Shifeng did not have any ulterior motives, why would he save her? He even spent 10 silver coins to buy those unwanted beverages. Shifeng looked at Violet Cloud's vigilant expression and actions. He then looked towards her smooth flat chest, suddenly laughing. You're overthinking things. I really have no interest towards your flatlands. I'm only buying this many because I just happen to have a use for fruit juice. If you don't wish to sell them to me, then so be it. I'll just find someone else to buy them from. Saying so, Shifeng released Drifting Blood as he turned away and left. However, Drifting Blood was not willing to let Shifeng go. Shifeng publicly humiliated him by forcing him to kneel with just a single hand. Moreover, when has Martial Union been afraid of anyone? Since the guards didn't seem to be paying attention, it would be extremely easy to get rid of Shifeng. Thinking so, Drifting Blood pulled out a weapon and used charge at Shifeng. With his sensitive 5 senses, Shifeng naturally knew of Drifting Blood's actions. Shifeng spun around to face him, pulling out the abyssal blade and using Paridang. Drifting Blood's greatsword hacked at Shifeng's sword. Instead of hurting Shifeng, however, Drifting Blood was knocked back by 3 yards. The durability of the greatsword in his hands instantly reduced by 2 points, and he looked at Shifeng in shock. He did not understand how a person like Shifeng would have such great strength. Shifeng was like a beast in human skin. The surrounding players were similarly shocked. Drifting Blood was a berserker, so he must have definitely added a lot of strength points. He was also at level 3 similar to Shifeng, so how could the gap between them be so great? These players did not know, however, that this was still only half of Shifeng's real strength. After all, Shifeng could obtain 6 free attribute points for every increase to his level. It was 1.5 times that of an average player. Not to mention Shifeng's body was protected by bronze and mysterious iron equipment. There was even the powerful magic weapon. Even with just half of these aspects, Shifeng's strength far exceeded the average player. If Shifeng's strength had not been reduced by half, just by activating the strength hidden basic skill, and the strength provided by the magic weapon, Shifeng could destroy that basic greatsword without a problem. Brat, you're courting death. See how I'll take care of you. Drifting Blood naturally would not believe that Shifeng was his match. He immediately stood back up, lifting his greatsword as he looked at Shifeng. Idiot. Shifeng sheathed the abyssal blade, having completely lost interest in Drifting Blood. Watching Shifeng store his weapon, Drifting Blood thought Shifeng had become afraid and wanted to beg for mercy. However, he would not forgive Shifeng. Drifting Blood further increased the power in his hands. Just as Drifting Blood was about to slash at Shifeng, he was immediately sent into a fainted state. Before Drifting Blood could turn around and curse the bastard that attacked him, he suddenly discovered 6 silvery white armored guards standing before him. Without saying anything further, the guards placed Drifting Blood in shackles. You've violated a town law. Take a trip with us. Any resistance and you'll be killed without consideration. The 2 guards grabbed Drifting Blood from both sides, turning around and dragging him away. Crap, you've got the wrong person. I'm just an ordinary citizen. It's that bastard who attacked me first. You guys should be arresting him. Drifting Blood continuously pointed at Shifeng, yelling injustice and rage. However, the guards paid no attention to his bellowing, taking him away immediately. Everyone was also in shock. Why did the guards only appear now? Moreover, they even apprehended the wrong person. What sort of situation was this exactly? Could Shifeng actually be an NPC, a part of the nobility? Only nobles would have such authority. To the side, Violet Cloud had a blank expression on her face, unable to make sense of the situation. Why didn't the guards arrest Shifeng? Instead, they arrested Drifting Blood. Was Shifeng really a noble NPC? Violet Cloud's eyes were filled with reluctance as she watched Shifeng leaving. She bit her rosy lips, her delicate hands tightly gripping the hem of her shirt. Of course, she was not reacting so because of how handsome Shifeng was, but instead she was truly in need of money. Those 10 silver counts were too important to her. Chapter 61 Poaching. Just as everyone was guessing whether or not Shifeng was a noble NPC, as Drifting Blood was being dragged away, he glared at Shifeng with eyes of a poisonous snake, bellowing, "Brat, just you wait. I'll remember you now. Our martial union will not let you off. I'll still be a good guy when I come out 12 hours later. When that time comes, there would be no place in Red Leaf Town for you." Everyone felt chills down their backs as they heard Drifting Blood's malicious threat. Was he planning to fight to the death? However, no one dared to belittle Shifeng any longer. Just by judging from his single action just now, they knew Shifeng was not as simple as he looked. Martial Union was a relatively famous guild in Red Leaf Town. They were very well known in other Wuxia virtual reality games. They were not a guild managed by a workshop, but instead they were a guild that was managed by casual gamers. Including investments from a few wealthy personages, Martial Union also started establishing a foothold in God's domain. Although they did not reach the standards of a third-rate guild, they were not a guild to be taken lightly currently. God's domain monopolized the entire virtual gaming industry. Under the support of the recently developed main god system, God's domain did not require humans for operation. The main god system assured fairness in the game, and it would also constantly evolve the game, continuously pumping out various quests, dungeons, hidden locations, and so on. God's domain was a living game, and it was something that no other virtual reality game could compare to. The maps in God's domain were also immensely vast, sufficient for the entire population of Earth. Moreover, a majority of the things available in real life could also be experienced within the game, in addition to things that could not be found in real life. God's domain was slowly trending towards becoming a second world, and other virtual reality games had no chance of competing with it. After Drifting Blood was dragged away by the guards, everyone's gaze turned towards Shifeng. They all held curiosity on their faces, and their eyes tried to see through Shifeng. They wanted to know whether or not Shifeng was an NPC. Unfortunately, no matter what kind of observation skills they used, the results told them that Shifeng was 100% a player, and not an NPC. This only further increased everyone's confusion. Yet, nobody dared to go over and ask Shifeng, as Shifeng might not even answer them. If by chance they were to cause Shifeng displeasure, who knew, they might be the next Drifting Blood. Shifeng looked at the puzzled faces of the people around him. He merely revealed a faint smile at the sight as he turned to leave. After living in God's domain for 10 years. He long since clearly understood the rules of God's domain. A player would be captured and jailed if he were to attack another player inside a safe zone. However, as long as an action did not cause any damage, even if it were an intense bodily contact, the guards would not pay heed to it. Pressing onto Drifting Blood and clapping his shoulders were both actions that did not cause damage. It was just that the strength behind it was different than what one would normally use for such actions. Naturally, the guards would not care about such actions. However, Drifting Blood used Charge, a skill that would cause the target to enter into a fainted state in addition to damage. Moreover, there were also his aggressive actions. The guards naturally would not let him off freely. Meanwhile, female players only had to activate the anti-harassment system to prevent harassing players from doing anything to them. However, Violet Cloud just recently entered God's domain, so it was natural for her not to know about it. Regarding Drifting Blood's threat, Shifeng paid no heed to it. Martial Union was a guild that did not even reach the standard of third-rate. Shifeng previously used to lead the weak shadow to stand off against many first-rate guilds, and these first-rate guilds were helpless dealing with them. Martial Union, a leisure guild that only had several thousand players, was not worth even mentioning. If they wished to find trouble with him, he would just deal with them. As a reincarnated person with a magic weapon in hand, what was he afraid of? As for deepening his relationship with Violet Cloud, Shifeng could only leave it aside for now as he searched for another way. The girl's vigilance was just too heavy for him to get through. However, Shifeng understood her reasons. If it were the snow goddess standing in his place, Violet Cloud might have a different reaction. Shifeng bitterly laughed, shaking his head as he left. "Sir, please hold on a moment," Violet Cloud finally said, no longer able to endure it. The enticement of 10 silver coins was just too great. This was her biggest chance. If she were to miss it, what would happen to her sick mother? "Oh, did you change your mind?" Shifeng turned around to look at Violet Cloud's troubled expression. Smiling as he spoke, Violet Cloud stayed on guard as she looked at Shifeng's eyes, trying to discern any bad intentions within them. However, no matter how she looked at them, she could not discover any special emotions within them. Instead, she could feel a vast ocean hidden within the depths of Shifeng's eyes. However, she still asked in caution, "You truly want only the fruit juice and absolutely won't have other requests?" Shifeng was sweating profusely in his heart. For her to seek confirmation over and over, just how unreliable was he? He would have left long ago, were it not for her potential to become a cleric god, as even he was unable to endure being thought of as a lecherous bastard by others. In any case, "I'm in need of a chef to make some things for me. How about this? We'll set up a contract and I'll hire you to be my chef. I'll give you the same treatment as a lifestyle player in a third-rate guild. You should be able to relax with the main god system's guarantee. If you don't have any problems, then follow me. If you still can't feel reassured, then just stay here. Shifeng let out a sigh. Speaking unhurriedly, Violet Cloud was dumbfounded. The man before her was actually hiring her, and he was even giving her an ordinary job. It should be known that chef was a lifestyle job that nobody thought highly of. No one ever hired chef players. She had heard before from her best friend the treatment of a lifestyle player in a third-rate guild. At that time, her friend even showed off that her boyfriend was a lifestyle player in a third-rate guild, and how great the monthly treatment he received was. If he performed well, there would even be various kinds of benefits. The treatment was much better than many jobs that were available in real life, and this caused Violet Cloud to be extremely envious. I'll follow you. However, I work very slowly. Is there really no problem? Violet Cloud ground her teeth, deciding to agree with Shifeng. If she were to let go of this chance, what sort of future awaited her? Judging from his various performances, Shifeng did not seem like a bad person. Moreover, she was just a very ordinary female player. There was absolutely no need for him to conspire and trick her. This was a virtual world. If she did not reveal her address in real life, Shifeng would not be able to track her at all. Moreover, Shifeng would have to bear a great risk in doing so. Follow me then. I still have some things I need to buy. Shifeng nodded his head, appearing to be very calm. However, inwardly he was in ecstasy. He had swindled a cleric god into his hands just like that. As for the snow goddess, Shifeng could only apologize and say, "First come, first serve." Subsequently, Violet Cloud left with Shifeng. Shifeng brought along Violet Cloud, returning to the grocery shop once more. He bought an assortment of equipment used by chefs such as pots, spatulas, knives, and so on, spending less than 2 silver coins in total. Afterward, he went to the Chefs Association, spending 1 silver coin to purchase 2 sheets of basic cooking recipes. One was a recipe for cooking wolf meat, the other for making an energizing drink. At the same time, he spent an additional 5 silver coins purchasing plenty of materials that were required by these recipes, as well as the materials for the fruit juice. Violet Cloud was shocked by Shifeng's actions. He actually spent so much money buying so many things. He was just too rich. Her previous notion of Shifeng being unreliable completely changed now. The materials and recipes Shifeng had spent so much money buying were sufficient to allow her to promote herself to an advanced apprentice chef. This was a treatment not even the lifestyle players of first-rate guilds would receive. However, what Violet Cloud did not know of was that Shifeng felt that these items were very cheap. It was truly easy to nurture a chef. All the materials required by the recipes could be bought from the NPC, and it only took 10 silver coins to nurture an advanced apprentice chef. Such an amount of money would not even be enough to squander for nurturing a forger or potion maker. Shifeng then rented a basic kitchen, bringing Violet Cloud to it. After you sign the contract, all these materials and recipes will belong to you. You only need to create 900 cups of fruit juice first. Then use everything remaining for these 2 recipes. You will receive a 20% share when these items are sold. At the same time, depending on your results, I'll decide your base salary every month. If you try to run away, you'll have to compensate me 10 times that amount. Sign it if you don't have any problems. Shifeng brought out a standard employment contract for lifestyle players from the main god system. Aside from having different treatments, these contracts were the same as others. There were no loopholes in them, and the law held effect over it. Chapter 62 Moonlight Forest. Violet Cloud was in a daze for a long time after reading the contract. She believed she was in a dream. She heard before the treatment lifestyle players received in third-rate guilds. The treatment she would be receiving was definitely better than those lifestyle players. It was especially true for the base salary. Lifestyle players of third-rate guilds definitely did not receive such treatment. Why are you being so good to me? Violet Cloud looked at Shifeng with wide, teary eyes, asking. She wanted to know the reason. Don't misunderstand. I'm only in need of a chef. I've only hired you because I can see you're a very hardworking and earnest person. If you try to take advantage of the situation and fail to hit my requirements, then you can get lost. I'm not interested in nurturing someone useless. Shifeng suddenly spoke in a grave tone. He wanted Violet Cloud to know that it was not easy to become his personal chef. That was because people were bound to become wasteful when they constantly received things without effort. Violet Cloud was frightened after being told so by Shifeng. She lowered her head, no longer daring to ask any more silly questions. Judging from Shifeng's attitude, It was clear that he was indeed looking for a chef, and that she had just been chosen by chance. Hence, Violet Cloud lifted the pen and signed the contract. This was her final chance at escaping her desperate situation. She definitely must grab a hold of it, boss. Will I be making them here? Violet Cloud immediately entered her role, appearing very respectful. She took a look at her surroundings. The environment here was very good, and it was also very peaceful. However, the rental for the basic kitchen was by no means cheap. Yeah, you'll be manufacturing the items here from now on. I've already applied for the membership here so that you can come here anytime. There is enough money stored for you to use a long period. There won't be anyone here to disturb you. The facilities here are also thorough, so your success rate can be increased by quite a bit. If you don't have any problems, then you can start working now. In 30 hours, if I don't see the 900 cups of fruit juice, then you may leave. Shifeng was very satisfied with Violet Cloud's attitude. He turned and left after finished saying his piece. As for luring Violet Cloud onto the path of battles and leveling, more time would be needed to slowly lead her towards that path. Moreover, Shifeng had a great purpose for fruit juice. It would not be a bad choice to allow Violet Cloud to make them for him. Violet Cloud's eyes followed Shifeng's back as he left. Her heart was filled with gratitude towards Shifeng. She made a firm resolution to work properly and to not disappoint her new boss. After leaving the Chefs Association, Shifeng returned to the Forging Association. Currently, the number of forgers in the Forging Association was constantly increasing. These players formed small conversation groups, either discussing how to increase their success rates or discussing the struggle between hammer trading and the mysterious forger. The two had become the target of envy, as well as idols of worship for these players. Did you see the article posted by Hammer Trading just now? Of course I've seen it. I never imagined hammer trading would be so hot-tempered as to actually insistent on challenging the mysterious forger. He even declared that the first one to withdraw from this price war would be a son of a bitch. I truly envy them. They had actually obtained a bronze forging design. How great would it be if I could have one as well? At the very least, I could join a third-rate guild if I had one. What do you even know? I've heard the forgers that are in guilds saying that the drop rate for bronze forging designs is frighteningly low. Moreover, its success rate is also shockingly low. Currently, selling them for 3 to 4 silver coins per piece is just a complete loss. The glimmer chestplate with better attributes would create an even bigger loss. On the other hand, the various guilds are all in cheerful moods, even thanking Hammer Trading for his actions. Otherwise, how would they be able to buy bronze equipment at such low prices? Truthfully speaking, I dislike that Hammer Trading very much. Was it bad to let all forgers profit together? Why must he insist on challenging the mysterious forger to the very end, causing both sides to suffer? Hearing the discussions of these players, Shifeng entered deep thought. After a moment, he revealed a faint smile. Judging from Hammer Trading's actions, it was clear that he was currently having a hard time. The silver coins in his possession were definitely insufficient, and he must be wantonly purchasing silver coins from the market right now. This would lead to a great increase in prices for silver coins, so it was the perfect chance for Shifeng to sell them. Shifeng wanted to thank Hammer Trading. If it were not for him, the market for equipment would not be as lively as it is now. Currently, there would be a large amount of silver coins entering his pockets every so often. Meanwhile, although Shifeng had spent quite a lot of it, the amount of money he possessed was still madly increasing. The money he possessed had already reached 3 gold coins. At the reception desk, Shifeng once more rented an intermediate forging room for 5 hours, starting a new round of forging and manufacturing. However, before he started forging, Shifeng entered the virtual center. He wanted to check the prices for God's Domain's game currency and sell some of the game currency he possessed. Just leaving it in his pockets was truly a waste. Shifeng was in the dark when he did not check, but the moment he did, he was shocked. Although there was a large number of players in God's Domain, the number of players who were selling the game's currency did not exceed 100. More importantly, the selling prices were astonishing. A single silver coin was selling for 60 credits. The price was at least double of that during Shifeng's previous life. However, the number of silver coins sold by these players were very small, mostly around 2 to 3 silver coins per player. Aside from the sellers, there were also players who were buying God's Domain currency in bulk. The lowest buying price was at 55 credits per silver coin, While the highest was at 58 credits per silver coin, that meant that a single silver coin in God's domain was enough for Shifeng to eat in luxury for 2 days. It was because of this competition that caused the prices of silver coins to be so expensive at the current stage of the game. So long as a person had a brain, they would know not to sell any of their game currency. On the other hand, there were many guilds who were purchasing game currencies in bulk at a reasonable price. There were only a scant few money farming groups and workshops who would sell some of their currency. However, the amount they sold was extremely low. Moreover, their prices were extremely high. Only as a last resort would the various guilds buy currency from these groups. However, these guilds knew the price competition for equipment was a great chance for them to reap some benefits. So, they would definitely purchase game currency in bulk. However, there was not that much game currency available for sale. They could only purchase the game currency sold at the virtual center. Moreover, where did the large amount of game currency flow to? A majority of it was definitely in Shifeng's pockets, while a minority was at the material merchant's side. That meant Shifeng was currently a big shot at selling game currency. Even a 100-man money farming group was far from being able to compare with Shifeng without hesitation. Shifeng immediately placed 3 gold coins up for sale, selling each silver coin at 60 credits. Shifeng still needed to collect the money to buy 2 virtual gaming helmets, so how could he be polite with these tycoons? Although the price was slightly high to obtain equipment, the many guilds in White River City will definitely buy them. When that time came, all these game currencies would eventually return to his hands. After settling this matter, Shifeng started focusing on forging equipment and manufacturing forging designs. 5 hours went by quickly. Shifeng once more forged more than 80 glimmer chest plates and 50 forging designs for the glimmer chest plate. The 200,000 EXP required by the teleportation orb had been filled, and his own experience had also increased by quite a lot. He was just 22% away from level 4 now, and he was just short of slightly more than 200 proficiency points before becoming an intermediate forging apprentice. In this forging session, the forging designs made were the most valuable when compared to the equipment made. Looking at the current popularity of the glimmer chest plate, the various guilds were definitely in a rush to obtain their own bronze equipment forging design. They wanted to nurture their own forgers and create their own bronze equipment. After all, the drop rate of bronze equipment was extremely low. There were also not that many elite monsters available to hunt in regards to the millions of players in White River City. The amount of equipment sold by Shifeng and hammer trading was insignificant. There were still swarms of players requiring the equipment after leaving the forging room. The amount of money in Shifeng's pockets once more increased by a lot. Hence, Shifeng made a trip to the trade area, once more purchasing stones and hard stones. He then cleared out the card sets and hard stones that were sold at the auction house, and in turn, placing the over 80 glimmer chest plates on auction. However, the selling price for the equipment this time was slightly different. The minimum price was no longer at 4 silver coins but 3 silver coins. Hammer trading was quickly nearing insanity from the competition. When hammer trading saw Shifeng had once again lowered his selling price, hammer trading even spat out blood. Now that Shifeng reduced his selling price, naturally hammer trading had to reduce his as well. Did Shifeng want him to sell a kidney? Must he be so merciless? The person himself, however, did not put much consideration into such matters. Shifeng only wanted to advertise the glimmer chest plate. After leaving the auction house, Shifeng stored the philosopher's stone and materials in the bank. Afterward, Shifeng went to the pharmacy to purchase 2 stacks of basic regeneration potions. He then went to the magic shop, purchasing over 10 types of magic scrolls. He bought 5 pieces of each kind, and each piece cost around 20 to 40 coppers. Now that the experience required by the teleportation magic orb has been fully collected, Shifeng could go to the Moonlight Forest. However, the Moonlight Forest was not an easy and relaxing place to stay. On the contrary, crises came one after another there, making the place extremely dangerous. Players dubbed the map as the Land of Eternal Rest. Without proper preparations, players would definitely die 10 out of 10 times there. The scrolls Shifeng bought were all necessary tools for him to survive in the wilderness. Before, he did not have that much money, so he did not bother with purchasing the magic scrolls. Now that he did, he naturally would not be courteous. At the very least, these scrolls could improve his survival chances there, rather dying 9 out of 10 times, following which, Shifeng searched for a deserted location and activated the teleportation magic orb. Shifeng then transformed into a streak of white light, vanishing from Red Leaf Town. Chapter 63 Mountain Beast Fighter. The sky was a dull gray. A full moon shone, scattering faint silvery rays throughout the tranquil forest. From the crystal-clear lake, one could hear the croaking of frogs. Fireflies were dancing throughout the forest. The scene was like a fantasy from a children's fairy tale. This place was the Moonlight Forest, also known as the Land of Eternal Rest, by players. The moment Shifeng arrived at this place, the first thing he did was take out an isolation scroll. Immediately, he activated the magic contained within the scroll. The dazzling magical runes written on the scroll came rushing out, and Shifeng's body suddenly became blurry. If looking from a far distance, it was very hard to notice Shifeng's existence. Each isolation scroll cost 40 copper coins. It was practically the entire fortune of an average player. Although the price was high, its effects were remarkable. The isolation scroll could greatly decrease a player's sense of presence, making it hard for surrounding enemies to discover them. The scroll had a duration of half an hour, and it was a must-have tool when exploring dangerous areas. Although it was not as effective as an assassin's stealth, it was better than nothing for jobs that did not possess stealth. When the isolation scroll was used, within a 30-yard radius, players would not be easily discovered by common monsters below level 15. Unless, of course, that player was courting death and attacked the monster, following which, Shifeng infiltrated the forest. He headed towards the central region of the Moonlight Forest in search of moonstones, wanting to remove the hateful curse even a little faster. The Moonlight Forest was a level 9 monster area. Its location was not in Star Moon Kingdom, but an isolated space. Every city had a teleportation gate directed towards the Moonlight Forest. In Shifeng's previous life, over 90% of the level 9 players in God's domain would grind for treasure here. However, even if a player were already level 10, the place would still massacre them. That was because the monsters here usually stayed in groups of 3 to 5, and they possessed powerful skills. A single misstep could cause a party wipe. Even so, players would still persevere, rushing to their deaths over and over as if they were possessed. As a result of the constant deaths, the Moonlight Forest was referred to by others as the Land of Eternal Rest. Meanwhile, the reason these players would persevere to such a degree was mainly that the monsters here dropped gemstones. Moreover, the drop rate was relatively high. The number of treasure chests here was also high. As long as one found a treasure chest, there was an 80% chance to obtain gemstones. Gemstones were very valuable in God's domain. The reason being, they were able to increase the attributes of a piece of equipment. Depending on the color of the gemstones, the attributes they increased were also different. Red increased strength, yellow increased agility, blue increased endurance, purple increased intelligence, and green increased vitality. A tier 1 gemstone could increase an attribute by 2 points. However, such an amount must not be belittled. A piece of bronze equipment could have 1 gemstone embedded into it, whereas a piece of mysterious iron equipment could have 2 gemstones into it. If every piece of equipment worn by a player were outfitted with gemstones, a number of accumulated attributes would be very terrifying. That was why the demand for gemstones was extremely great. The prices of gemstones would always remain high, causing many players to take the great risk of farming gemstones at the Moonlight Forest. Moreover, there were various resources such as ore, herbs, rare food materials, and so on in the Moonlight Forest. However, the most well-known part about the Moonlight Forest was still the 50-man dungeon, the sleeping fortress, that resided there. The dungeon was also the location to exchange card sets. However, only after the dungeon had been cleared by a team would players of the same area be allowed to enter the dungeon to exchange their card sets. However, Shifeng's current goal was not the card sets, but the moonstones. The moonstones could only be found in the core area of the Moonlight Forest. Only Shifeng could not help but be careful when taking action. Not mentioning the extreme dangers found in the Moonlight Forest, Shifeng was just level 3 right now, and he was entering a level 9 monster area. If he were to die an accidental death, then the 200,000 EXP he collected would be for naught, and he would have to start collecting it all over again. He had yet to reach level 10, so he could not activate the teleportation gate found in cities. If he were to die, his only choice was to return to Red Leaf Town. If he wished to return to this place, his only choice was to collect the required experience. Currently, Shifeng was far behind the leading experts regarding level. It would be an absolute nightmare if Shifeng were to die once and have to collect another 200,000 EXP just after entering the forest. Shifeng could see level 9 shadow leopards hiding either up in the trees or in the bushes, each of them prepared to ambush their foe. If it were not for the isolation scroll, Shifeng would have long since been discovered. Shifeng naturally wasn't an opponent for a level 9 monster, so he could only avoid them. Besides, his goal here was not to kill monsters, and even more so, there was no need for him to pick a fight with the shadow leopard. Shifeng carefully circled the shadow leopards, one after another. After spending more than an hour doing so, he arrived at a wide and towering forest made of stone. In this stone forest existed a group of battle maniacs called mountain beast fighters. They were a group of tenacious warriors that did not fear suffering. The thing they loved most was battling, and the fiercer the better. At the same time, they were also guarding a large pile of treasure, and amongst the treasure was the rarely seen moonstone. However, the entire stone forest was filled with these armored, gigantic creatures. Wielding a spiked club the height of 2 people, these creatures patrolled the stone forest, preventing anyone from entering. If Shifeng were to set foot in the stone forest, there was a 100% chance for him to be discovered. At that time, a group of those mountain beast fighters would come rushing over, and a swing from each of those spiked clubs would easily turn Shifeng into meat-paste mountain beast fighter, common rank. Level 9. HP 1100/1100. Looks like I can only clear the way slowly. After searching for half a day, Shifeng still could not find any safe way to penetrate the heart of the forest. His only choice was to kill his way there. Shifeng could not help but admit that the difficulty of an epic quest was indeed very hard. This was just the beginning, yet he was already required to face off against the level 9 mountain beast fighters. He did not know what kinds of challenges he would meet further down the line. Fortunately, he was very familiar with the terrain of the Moonlight Forest. He knew many methods to deal with the beast warriors before him. The mountain beast fighters were abnormally powerful, and their attacks were out of the ordinary. Even shield warriors and guardian knights of an equal level were unable to take more than a few hits from them. However, their bodies were enormous, resulting in their movement speed being relatively slow. In Shifeng's previous life, there were many elementalists who used Frost Arrow to reduce their speed. They then utilized the unique terrain of the stone forest to avoid the attacks from the spiked clubs, kiting and killing the mountain beast fighters, following which, this stone forest became a holy ground for ranged players. Mountain beast fighters could be seen being kite through various means throughout the stone forest. Although Shifeng did not possess any speed reduction skills, he could use other methods to supplement it. As for kiting the mountain beast fighters, he had the rare skill Defensive Blade, which could increase his attack range by quite a lot. Shifeng did not believe that a Sword King expert, such as himself, could not beat a level 10 elementalist regarding utilizing the terrain to dodge attacks. After properly observing the terrain, Shifeng ran practice simulations in his mind a total of 5 times. Carrying out mental simulations would have a tremendous effect during actual operation. Hence, every expert would often carry out mental simulations of the operation before actually taking action. The reason why experts were experts was because of the preparations they made were much greater than others. There would often be many average players who would admire the experts in God's domain. They would lament over their own skills being poor, determining that they would never be able to reach the level of these experts. In reality, however, they did not know how great of an effort these experts were putting into each day. The suffering these experts went through each day far exceeded the average player. It was the reason why they could shine brilliantly after running through the simulations. Shifeng took out a black steel beer and a speed scroll. The black steel beer could reduce a monster's level by 2. In addition to the attributes of the Abyssal Blade, Shifeng would not be suppressed due to the level difference. Even when facing a level 9 monster, he would be able to deal damage normally. As for the speed scroll, each one of them cost 25 copper coins. It increased the user's movement speed by 25% for a duration of 10 minutes. This scroll was a life-saving item when out in the wilderness. Shifeng bought a total of 20 of them just for such occasions. If the average player were to learn about this, they would definitely curse Shifeng as a spendthrift. Such an item would only be used when one was in a life or death crisis. Meanwhile, Shifeng used it for killing common monsters. It was just too extravagant. If Shifeng were not cursed, he could easily kite these monsters, just based on his attributes. However, his attributes were now reduced by 50%. The suppression was just too great, so it was safer to use a speed scroll if Shifeng were to mess things up. It would not just be a matter of losing a level. He would have also wasted 200,000 EXP. Shifeng took a deep breath, relaxing his body as he looked towards the closest mountain beast fighter. Following which, his 2 feet exploded with strength, rushing towards the mountain beast fighter. Chapter 64 Silvermoon Set Equipment. When the distance between Shifeng and the mountain beast fighter was less than 30 yards, the monster discovered Shifeng speeding towards it. It widened its mouth and let out an ear-piercing battle cry. It raised its gigantic spiked club, using a charge and rushing towards Shifeng. Shifeng immediately pulled out the abyssal blade. The blade slashed horizontally as Shifeng used parry. Pung! Shifeng was knocked back by 5 yards, pulling some distance away from the mountain beast fighter without taking any damage. After he landed, he immediately spun around and ran towards the stone forest. If players were hit by the mountain beast fighter's charge, the monster would immediately follow up with a break to reduce the player's speed, preventing them from escaping. In Shifeng's previous life, the elementalists who were struck by the beast fighter's charge would immediately use Frozen Nova to freeze the monster for 8 seconds. They would take the chance to gain some distance, then continue by kiting the monster. The mountain beast fighters would only use charge on the first meeting, using suppressing skills afterward. As long as the elementalists did not let the monsters catch up to them, there would be no danger whatsoever. Also, nearby there were numerous large rocks that could be used to toy with the mountain beast fighters, making the process of killing them a lot easier. After using the speed scroll, Shifeng's speed was faster than the mountain beast fighter just by a thread. It was not very obvious, but it was this small difference that prevented the mountain beast fighter from catching up to him. After entering the densely packed stone forest, Shifeng turned around and used Thundering Flash. From a distance of 15 yards, 3 sword rays immediately pierced through the beast fighter's armor, causing 3 damages of -15, -19, -13. Without the level suppression, even if Shifeng's attributes were reduced by 50%, his attack power and skill damage were still very powerful. After using the skill, Shifeng's speed slightly reduced, and the mountain beast fighter caught up to him within an instant. The beast fighter was clearly furious after being struck. It roared as it brandished its spiked club, smashing it at Shifeng. Shifeng hurriedly turned his body, hiding by a nearby rock. The spiked club did not land on Shifeng. It only hit the stone and created a splash of broken rocks. During this attack, Shifeng once again pulled a distance of over 8 yards away from the monster. After using Thundering Flash, Shifeng activated Defensive Blade. His attack range suddenly increased to 15 yards. As long as he maintained a 5-yard distance between the mountain beast fighter, the monster would not be able to land a hit on him. Shifeng brandished his sword as he paid attention to the distance between him and the monster, pulling back to avoid the club whenever he was too close. In such a way, streak after streak of sword light landed on the mountain beast fighter's body. The beast fighter could only bellow in helplessness as its HP continuously fell. It never imagined that a human could actually be so agile and cunning. Every time its attack was about to land, the human would dodge towards a nearby rock. Its bulky spiked club could not land a hit at all. Instead, it only served to create a gap between itself and the human. Just when the mountain beast fighter's HP went below 7%, another mountain beast fighter suddenly appeared from behind a rock. It blocked Shifeng's path, using charge at him. Scram. Faced with the sudden appearance of another monster, Shifeng immediately used Abyssal Bind on it, preventing the monster from moving. At the same time, the Abyssal Bind also cancelled the life-threatening charge. Since the mountain beast fighter had been locked up, Shifeng naturally would not let the skill go to waste. He immediately used Wind Blade, instantly shaking off the low HP mountain beast fighter, and his blade landed on the bound mountain beast fighter's neck. Shifeng continued by using Double Chop, causing a bleeding effect on the monster. He then used another chop on the monster. Just within 3 seconds, Shifeng had taken away 16% of this mountain beast fighter's HP. Seeing as the low HP mountain beast fighter was about to catch up, Shifeng dodged and arrived at behind the restricted beast fighter. He raised the pitch-black abyssal blade high, abruptly slashing down. Thundering Flash. Above the heads of both mountain beast fighters, 3 consecutive damages of -16, -19, -23 appeared. The low HP beast warrior fell to the ground with a bang system. Mountain beast fighter killed. Level difference of 6. EXP obtained increased by 600%. Obtained 36 EXP. Such an amount of experience could be considered negligible to Shifeng, who was currently level 3. On the other hand, the proficiency points for using skills were gained much faster. Every use would definitely increase the skill's proficiency by 3 points. This allowed Chop to quickly rise to level 3. In addition to the Abyssal Blade's attributes, Shifeng's Chop was now level 5, its might greatly increasing. Double Chop had also risen to level 2. And if the skill were used through the Abyssal Blade, it would be a level 4 Double Chop. The damage caused by the bleeding effect also increased significantly. The restricted mountain beast fighter bellowed. It finally broke free from the chains, and it wanted to annihilate Shifeng. However, Shifeng gave it no chance. He immediately distanced himself 5 yards away from the monster and continued kiting it. Although the defensive blade had a long cooldown and a short duration, by using Thundering Flash, Double Chop, and Parry in concert, Shifeng could still slowly grind the mountain beast fighter down. Not a minute later, another mountain beast fighter fell. However, the mountain beast fighters did not reward Shifeng with anything special. There were only 3 pieces of hard stone and 2 copper coins. On the other hand, killing these mountain beast fighters was a good way to grind skill proficiency points. Subsequently, Shifeng advanced forward while killing mountain beast fighters. These monsters had a short respawn time, so from time to time, Shifeng would attract 2 to 3 of these mountain beast fighters. Fortunately, the stone forest had narrow spaces. This resulted in the beast fighters blocking each other's path, their numbers causing their speed to reduce. Instead, seeing this, Shifeng had sudden inspiration. He started luring more and more mountain beast fighters, and within a short moment, he had lured over 20 of these monsters. The monsters chased after Shifeng as a group, but the narrow pathways of the stone forest prevented them from even stretching their bodies. Just a slight movement and they would run into the other mountain beast fighters. Such a situation allowed Shifeng to become much more relaxed. Shifeng constantly used Thundering Flash and various other skills to burn off the HP of the mountain beast fighters behind him. Shifeng kept luring new mountain beast fighters as he attacked the ones behind him. In such a way, Shifeng's skill proficiency points increased without stop. After 3 hours, Thundering Flash had risen to level 3. Chop had risen to level 5, Double Chop to level 4, Wind Blade to level 3, Defensive Blade to level 2, and Wind Walk to level 2. This increase allowed Shifeng to kill monsters with greater ease. With the increase from the Abyssal Blade, the damage from a single Thundering Flash could take away over 90 HP from each mountain beast fighter. A chop could also cause more than 60 points of damage. The bleeding damage caused by Double Chop was also very powerful. However, Shifeng's level remained at 3. He was still quite a distance away from level 4. If it were not for the curse, he would have long since risen in level. Looking at the ground littered with mountain beast fighter corpses, Shifeng decided to take a rest and pick up the loot. Otherwise, all these corpses would become too much of a hindrance in God's domain. If a player did not pick up the loot, the monster's corpse would require 24 hours before it was removed by the system. The loot from hundreds of mountain beast fighters was extremely shocking. Just from the money dropped, there was already more than 4 silver coins. There was also a lot of materials. As for the moonstones, 7 pieces were dropped. It was still quite a distance away from 30 pieces. Moreover, a few pieces of level 7 to level 10 common equipment also dropped. Isn't this a piece of the Silver Moon set equipment? Shifeng picked up a silvery white helmet from the ground. Slightly shocked Silver Moon helmet, bronze plate armor. Equipment requirement: Strength 35. Defense plus 43. Strength plus 5, Agility plus 4, Endurance plus 4. Battle Recovery plus 1. Durability 40/40. Limited to Berserkers and Swordsmen. This helmet was 1 out of 5 pieces of equipment belonging to the Silver Moon set equipment. As long as 2 pieces of the set were collected, the first set effect could be activated. 4 pieces of equipment were required for the second set effect, while all 5 pieces were needed for the third set effect. Each set effect was better than the previous. The Silver Moon set equipment was regarded as one of the best set equipment for Berserkers and Swordsmen below level 10. However, its drop rate was extremely low, and it was extremely hard to gather a complete set. Unlike other equipment, the Silver Moon set equipment did not possess a level limit. It was only limited by attributes. So long as a player fulfilled the required attributes, they would be able to wear it. Suddenly, Shifeng grew a great interest towards the Silver Moon set equipment. Maybe it was because the map had yet to be populated, so the drop rate right now was so high. If Shifeng were to miss out on this chance, he would definitely regret it in the future. 35 points in strength. To the average player, they would most likely need to reach level 8 or level 9 before they would be able to wear this equipment. However, with Shifeng's attributes, he would be able to wear it as long as he removed the curse and reached level 5. If he were to collect the complete set, his attributes would literally soar to the sky. At that time, killing a level 5 shield warrior with a full body of bronze equipment would just be child's play. Just the thought of it excited Shifeng. Chapter 65 Mysterious Iron Treasure Chest. Shifeng stored the Silver Moon helmet and continued moving deeper into the stone forest, searching for even more mountain beast fighters. Before, Shifeng's attention was solely focused on moonstones and the horror of the Moonlight Forest. He had completely forgotten that the Moonlight Forest was an unexplored map. The treasures here were bountiful beyond comparison. It was just that, in Shifeng's previous life, when he arrived at the Moonlight Forest, the place had long since been ransacked by those experts of first-rate and second-rate guilds, leaving only scraps behind. Even then, Shifeng still had to compete with the other guilds for themas. For the average players, they didn't even have the chance to obtain those second-hand goods by the time the average players arrived, who knew how many times the Moonlight Forest had been ransacked. However, these players still treated this place as a treasured land. One could imagine just how attractive the untouched Moonlight Forest was now that he was here. A step ahead, those first-rate and second-rate guilds would not have their turn. He would personally explore every corner of the Moonlight Forest and plunder everything, letting those guilds have a taste of getting second-hand goods. 2 hours later, Shifeng finally arrived at the core of the stone forest. On his way here, Shifeng continuously killed mountain beast fighters, obtaining 3 more pieces of moonstone and a lot of money and materials. By chance, Shifeng had discovered a camp made by the mountain beast fighters. The camp was guarded by mountain beast fighters on all sides, and just a rough calculation told Shifeng that there were over 40 of these monsters. Moreover, there were several squads of mountain beast fighters patrolling near the camp. All in all, their numbers totaled past 100. The mountain beast fighters' camp was where they stored their treasures. Many guilds would often send teams consisting of 20 elite players to do a sweep on the various monster camps in the Moonlight Forest. Their harvests, every time they did so, were relatively good. Meanwhile, the mountain beast fighter camp in front of Shifeng had never been raided before. There was definitely a great treasure in there. Shifeng might even be able to finish collecting the required moonstone and obtain many tier 1 gemstones and equipment. However, every monster camp was not easy to deal with. If there were not a lot of rocks here, Shifeng would not have paid any attention to the camp and would have most likely turned around and left already. But the rocks here were much more concentrated. The pathways surrounding the camp could, at most, fit 2 beast fighters, while the narrower places could only fit 1. It was definitely a good location to grind mountain beast fighters. It would be a great pity if Shifeng were to give up here. Hence, Shifeng picked a few small pieces of stone from the ground and stealthily closed in on the monster camp to prevent unexpected elements. Shifeng decided to lure all the mountain beast fighters in one go. Otherwise, if he were to meet up with another group of mountain beast fighters during his kiting, he would definitely drop dead. The important factor when luring these mountain beast fighters was finding a way to deal with their charge. If that were not properly handled, Shifeng would end up dead from the unlimited charges. He had personally been met with such a scenario before. His strength at that time had clearly exceeded the monsters by a large leap, yet the monsters charged at him one after another, placing him in a fainted state until he died. Although each mountain beast fighter only used charge once, hundreds of those monsters still meant hundreds of charges. Trying to get them to charge all at the same time was extremely difficult with his current HP. Shifeng would not last 2 hits under the mountain beast fighter's assault. Hence, he absolutely cannot make a mistake. He needed to let all the mountain beast fighters simultaneously use charge at him, then avoid the follow-up damage. Only then would he have a chance to get rid of all these mountain beast fighters. He needed to get a good grasp on the timing when all the mountain beast fighters rushed over. Otherwise, instead of grinding monsters, he would be the one beaten to a pulp. However, Shifeng still held confidence in himself. After all, he was once a sword king and a first-rate expert. The mountain beast fighter on guard used its furry hand to caress its beloved Nuedo. It stood up high on the wall, Its blood-red eyes were constantly surveying its surroundings. As long as it discovered an intruder, it would immediately charge over and let its blade enjoy a delicious meal. Suddenly, a stone flew towards the mountain beast fighter, striking its head. When the beast fighter turned its head towards the direction the stone came from, it discovered a human a distance away. There was also a piece of stone in the human's hand. Then the beast fighter caressed its head that had been struck, suddenly entering a burning rage. A mere ant dared to throw a stone at it. Ho! 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 The roar from the mountain beast fighter alarmed the entire nest of monsters. Mountain beast fighters came rushing out of the camp, one after another, all of them rushing to kill Shifeng. Meanwhile, Shifeng continued throwing stones towards the other squads of mountain beast fighters. In just a short moment, he had enraged all of those monsters, causing them to rush at him. Seeing over 100 mountain beast fighters running towards him, Shifeng remained unhurried. He used Phantom Kill, allowing his doppelganger to run into the stone forest while he faced off with the monsters. Not to mention Shifeng alone, even a 20-man elite team would not be able to handle over 100 mountain beast fighters at the same time. As the distance between Shifeng and the mountain beast fighters shortened, Shifeng's heart madly beat. His actions this time were insane. If there were even the tiniest mistake, only death awaited him. It had been a very long time since he had done something so exciting. His blood boiled, and his 5 senses grew even more sensitive when the mountain beast fighters were no more than 30 yards from Shifeng. A majority of the beasts were within the range to use charge after a wrathful roar. A large majority of the mountain beast fighters simultaneously activated charge, with a few using it a moment later. Shifeng immediately activated defensive blade. The skill could block 3 melee attacks. At the same time, Shifeng gripped the abyssal blade and prepared to use parry when the first wave of monsters arrived. Although Shifeng used parry, his body was still sent flying back. Following which, the second wave of monsters arrived, knocking Shifeng into a fainted state, preventing him from moving. Seeing many mountain beast fighters raise their new Nuedo, ready to strike, Shifeng persevered and did not use any skills. Even when the blade slashed at him, Shifeng still did not use the position swapping function of Phantom Kill. The defensive blade's damage immunity to 3 melee attacks instantly vanished afterward. Shifeng was struck by the large blade. His HP instantly fell by half. Another strike was all it would take to finish him off. Now at this time, the third wave of monsters had finally arrived. Shifeng once more entered a fainted state, the blade of the second Nuedo just before his eyes. Substitute. Shifeng shouted in his mind. Within an instant, Shifeng and the doppelganger in the stone forest swapped places. After the blade slashed the doppelganger, the charge of the fourth and final wave of monsters arrived. The doppelganger was simply beaten to death. Meanwhile, Shifeng, who was hiding in the stone forest, immediately took out a bottle of basic regeneration potion. He gulped it down in one go, a sweet and sour taste permeating throughout his mouth. Shifeng's HP immediately recovered by 180 points, allowing him to barely be able to receive another attack. After the doppelganger died, the hatred of the mountain beast fighters was directed towards Shifeng, who was currently in the stone forest. Immediately, they swarmed into the forest. Inside the forest was naturally Shifeng's realm. He activated a speed scroll, facing off against the crazed mountain beast fighters who were crowding through the narrow path. Shifeng used Thundering Flash. 3 streaks of lightning passed through the monsters, instantly taking over 100 HP from each of them within 10 minutes. All the lured mountain beast fighters were dead. At the same time, the remaining thread of experience Shifeng needed to reach level 4 had been filled up. He finally reached level 4. Catching up to the second-tier player, Shifeng placed all 6 attribute points into strength. Currently, damage was his priority. After cleaning up the loot, Shifeng actually obtained another piece of the Silver Moon set equipment, a Silver Moon leg guard. He had also obtained 7 pieces of Moonstone, 2 Tier 1 gemstones, and all sorts of materials and common equipment. His harvest was relatively good. However, the most bountiful treasure was not these items. The main focus remained within the camp's storehouse. After all, mountain beast fighters love to place their collected treasures in the camp storehouse. After cleaning up the drops, Shifeng quickly ran into the camp. He wanted to see just what sort of treasure was awaiting him inside the storehouse. As expected for the first time, there really is a lot of treasure. From afar, Shifeng could already see a few large treasure chests placed inside the storehouse. Amongst them, There was even a pitch-black mysterious iron treasure chest filled with excitement. Shifeng was just about to enter the storehouse and take a look at the items within the treasure chests when he heard a loud roar. Ayo! 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 A mountain beast fighter, who was 3 sizes larger than its peers, rushed out from within the storehouse. The monster was covered in silver armor, and both its hands wielded a gigantic axe. Both its blood-red eyes stared tenaciously at Shifeng. Chapter 66 Phantom Kill. After this silver-armored mountain beast fighter rushed out, before Shifeng could observe it, it had already thrown its incomparably heavy mountain-splitting axe. The axe flew like a rocket, reaching Shifeng in an instant. Everything happened too quickly, too suddenly. If it were an average player in this situation, their head would have parted with their body before they could even react. However, Shifeng was not an average player. He pulled out the abyssal blade with great speed, and the moment before the axe could hack at his neck, he parried this flying death axe. The collision between the giant axe and the longsword did not produce any sparks, only the sound of an explosion. Shifeng's entire person was sent flying back over 10 yards, following which, the giant axe landed on the ground, deeply penetrating the earth. Its landing caused the earth to start shaking. It could be seen just how heavy this giant axe was. Moreover, the silver-armored mountain beast fighter, who could simply throw this giant axe, was even more terrifying. Such strength did not exceed the normal mountain beast fighters by just a level. After landing, Shifeng immediately used observing eyes on the new monster mountain beast warrior, Special Elite. Level 10. HP 3500/3500. Shifeng immediately understood the mountain beast warrior's strength after taking a look at these numbers. Without saying anything further, he turned tail and ran. What a joke. Directly battling against a level 10 Special Elite was literally suicide. When meeting a Special Elite in the Moonlight Forest, players didn't have to consider whether or not they could kill it, rather whether or not they could run away. The mountain beast warrior was stronger than the mountain beast fighter by more than a notch. Not only regarding strength, but its speed and flexibility were also greatly increased. It would not be easily toyed with like the mountain beast fighters. If Shifeng did not use parry to defend against the axe, then even if he had blocked the attack with the abyssal blade, he would still end up dead. The gap between their strength was just too huge. Although Shifeng wished to escape, the mountain beast warrior had no plans. Let this intruder go. It used charge to rush at Shifeng, picking up its giant axe along the way. The way it picked up the weapon was as if it were picking up a leaf, effortless. Seeing that the mountain beast warrior had used charge, Shifeng knew he could not shake it off. He turned his body around in midair, pointing his sword at the mountain beast warrior. Abyssal bind. Within an instant, the mountain beast warrior, who was swiftly rushing at Shifeng, was restricted by pitch-black chains. It could not move even a muscle, only helplessly stare at Shifeng. Shifeng did not dare stay any longer. He activated Windwalk, leaving the campsite at high speed and fleeing into the stone forest. With the added speed from Windwalk, the mountain beast warrior had no chance of catching up to him. About 20 seconds later, finally broke away from it. Shifeng turned his head around to take a look, discovering the mountain beast warrior already turning around and heading back to its camp. Thereupon, Shifeng let out a breath of relief. If it had continued chasing, Shifeng's Windwalk would have timed out. His luck was truly rotten. There was actually a Special Elite inside the campsite. In his previous life, there were no monster camps that were guarded by a Special Elite. There would only be the occasional normal elite monster. Shifeng felt unfortunate for losing the mysterious iron treasure chest. Currently, Blackie's communication arrived. Brother Feng, all of our members have reached level 4. Moreover, we obtained a lot of our equipment and skill books. Everyone has learned quite a few skills and our strength has greatly increased. Unfortunately, our leveling speed from grinding gnomes has greatly decreased. When will you be coming over to carry us through the hell mode of the Deathly Forest? Our fighting spirits are all sky high right now, and we're just waiting for your command, Blackie laughingly said. All of you are level 4? Shifeng entered a deep thought, trying to think of the next task for Blackie and the others to do. After some thought, Shifeng thought of a good location. Blackie, you guys should stop grinding gnomes and return to town to tidy up your bags. Go to the level 5 area, the Red Leaf Forest. Follow this marker and grind forest wolves. The wolf meat and wolf skins are good stuff. The more you grind, the better, as all the drops can be sold, fattening your wallets. With Blackie and the others' current potential, it would be very easy to grind forest wolves. This was especially true with Blackie's equipment. The monster's 400 HP would be gone with just 3 dark arrows. Moreover, the location Sherfong gave to Blackie was a large wolf Denver. The respawn rate there was very quick, and there was also higher ground for Blackie and the others to occupy. As long as Cola and Lonely Snow firmly blocked the pathway up the slope, preventing even a single wolf from moving past them, the ranged members could easily deal damage. Moreover, beasts were afraid of fire, taking additional damage from it. A single hellflame could wipe out the entire pack of wolves. Their leveling speed would increase by at least 60% to 70%. Great. We're bored out of our minds from constantly grinding gnomes. We'll go immediately after we tidy up our bags. Blackie excitedly confirmed. More and more players started going to their location to grind gnomes now. In addition to them being level 4, their leveling efficiency was constantly decreasing. They were naturally excited to have a new location to grind. Brothers, pack up. We won't have to compete with them anymore. Let's go play in a new location, Blackie said to the others after cutting off the call. Everyone stopped fighting over monsters with the other players when they heard Blackie say so. They cheerfully left this place with Blackie. When the elite parties saw Blackie and the others leaving, their faces revealed expressions of joy. There would be fewer people competing over this precious leveling ground now. They inwardly sneered at the foolishness of Blackie's party. Currently, players filled the entirety of Dark Moon Valley. How could the leveling speed at the other locations be faster than here? Elsewhere, just when Sherfong was ready to look for other mountain beast fighters, he noticed a problem from the conversation with Blackie. It was definitely not possible for him to kill the mountain beast warrior by himself, but he could still escape. However, it was not necessary for him to kill the mountain beast warrior to obtain the mysterious iron treasure chest. As long as one person lured the mountain beast warrior, another person could go and open the treasure chest. Thinking up to this point, Sherfong looked at the abyssal blade with a faint smile. As expected, Phantom Kill was a very powerful skill, following which, Sherfong once more returned to the mountain beast camp. He activated Phantom Kill, his doppelganger appearing before him. The doppelganger possessed all of Sherfeng's skills. It was sufficient to hold off the mountain beast warrior for more than 20 seconds. With these 20 seconds, Sherfong could activate the treasure chest and take away all the items. Sherfong took out a speed scroll and polymorph scroll, giving them to the doppelganger. The polymorph scroll could polymorph monsters below level 15 into a sheep for 4 seconds. However, the effective duration on a special elite would be greatly decreased. Although it was enough as long as it could disrupt the mountain beast warrior's charge. After activating the speed scroll, the doppelganger immediately went to the storehouse to lure the mountain beast warrior. As expected, the scene from before replayed itself, and the doppelganger used parry to block the flying death axe. It subsequently used charge at the doppelganger. The doppelganger immediately used the polymorph scroll, instantly turning the mountain beast warrior into a little white sheep. The mountain beast warrior reverted to its original form in less than a second. It then chased after the doppelganger, entering deep into the stone forest. The mountain beast warrior's speed was slightly faster than the doppelganger, but the doppelganger activated Windwalk, its speed and the distance between them increasing once more. A short distance away, Sherfong watched as the mountain beast warrior departed from the campsite. He let out a small chuckle, similarly activating Windwalk as he rushed into the storehouse. This time, there were no monsters present to interrupt him when he entered the storehouse. Sherfong first went up to the mysterious iron treasure chest. Opening it, the treasure chest needed time to be opened. 1 second, 2 seconds. The loading bar for the treasure chest was still going, causing Sherfong to become slightly nervous. The time his doppelganger could delay was limited. Aside from the mysterious iron treasure chest, there was still one more bronze treasure chest and 3 common treasure chests. Time was of the essence. As long as he opened a treasure chest now, it would not be possible to lure the tiger out of the mountain the next time around. After all, special elites possess their own intelligence. Hurry, hurry. Sherfong impatiently looked at the loading button. Seconds later, the mysterious iron treasure chest opened at the same time. A wrathful roar came from the stone forest. It would seem that Sherfeng's actions had been discovered. Looking through the doppelganger's vision, Sherfong could see that the mountain beast warrior no longer paid the doppelganger any attention. Instead, it ran back towards the camp storehouse without pause. Shifeng immediately stored all the items in the treasure chest into his bag. He then continued to open the bronze chest. The bronze treasure chest's loading bar started to move slowly. To Shifeng, every second right now was crawling by. Meanwhile, the sound of the mountain beast warrior's bellow was getting closer and closer. Chapter 67 Ring of Nothingness. The loading bar for the treasure chest was currently only halfway done. Hearing the roar getting closer and closer, Shifeng became extremely anxious. Hurry! Hurry! The mountain beast warrior had already entered the camp, yet the loading bar was still a hair's breadth away from full when the mountain beast warrior saw Shifeng opening the treasure chest. Its large pair of eyes turned crimson red. It aimed its giant axe at Shifeng, throwing it at him. It could not help but wish for Shifeng to go to hell immediately at this moment. The bronze treasure chest opened without giving the flying axe even a single glance. Shifeng immediately activated Defensive Blade, blocking the attack from the flying death axe. Following which, his two hands swiftly stretched into the treasure chest, taking the items within and cramping them into his bag with lightning speed. When Shifeng finished storing all of the items from the treasure chest, the mountain beast warrior also arrived before him. It picked up the fallen axe with both of its hands, raising it up high as it prepared to murder. Having no plans to stay, Shifeng turned and ran. Boom! The earth split when the axe landed, leaving behind a scar and causing crushed stones to go flying. However, Shifeng was already 5 yards away by the time the axe landed. He was running directly to the outside of the camp. Seeing that its attack missed, the mountain beast warrior turned to face Shifeng and used charge. It did not intend to give Shifeng any chance to escape. On the other hand, Shifeng did not have any skills to deal with the mountain beast warrior who was charging at him. He allowed the mountain beast warrior to send him into a fainted state, his body then receiving a slash from its axe. In an instant, the attack sent him flying over 10 yards away. The attack from the mountain beast warrior could cause even a level 5 shield warrior to harbor a grudge. Yet Shifeng acted as if it was nobody's business as he stood and started running out of the camp once more. Now Defensive Blade could only prevent Shifeng from receiving damage from a melee attack one more time. Although only one chance remained, there was more than a 10-yard distance between Shifeng and the mountain beast warrior. As long as Shifeng ran into the stone forest, he would be a lot safer. However, an unexpected situation occurred. The mountain beast warrior that should have used charge only once used it a second time, sending Shifeng into a fainted state once more. It raised its giant axe, slashing it again at Shifeng's body. Shifeng was sent flying for over 10 yards again. This time it immediately threw him out of the camp. He was just a short distance away from the stone forest now. However, Shifeng's expression became much more serious. The current mountain beast warrior was completely different from before. Previously it only used charge once. Now it used charge twice. That meant that there was a possibility for a third or fourth charge, maybe even more. That meant, as long as the distance between Shifeng and the mountain beast warrior exceeded 8 yards, the mountain beast warrior would use charge. This was definitely not good news. Just as expected, the moment Shifeng stepped out of the 8-yard range, the mountain beast warrior used charge once again. If Shifeng were to be hit once more, he would definitely die. He was not willing to die just yet. Shifeng took out a polymorph scroll, immediately turning the mountain beast warrior that was charging at him into a sheep. Although it was polymorphed only for a second, just 1 second was enough for Shifeng to run a long distance away. As long as Shifeng could run out of the 30-yard range, it would be too far for the mountain beast warrior to use charge. Just after running 15 yards away, the mountain beast warrior recovered. Shifeng immediately spun around and cast Abyssal Bind. He then activated Gravity Liberation, his speed soaring greatly. The 3 seconds binding this time allowed Shifeng to easily run past the 30-yard range, entering the stone forest. Currently, some of the mountain beast fighters in the stone forest had already respawned, and by coincidence, one of them was blocking the path ahead of Shifeng. Being struck by inspiration, Shifeng quickly took the initiative Wind Blade. Before the mountain beast fighter could react, Shifeng rushed to its front and brushed past it. Shifeng then took out another polymorph scroll, turning the mountain beast fighter into a sheep. With the speed increase from Wind Blade, Shifeng easily shook off the mountain beast warrior that was stubbornly chasing after him, escaping it quickly. After finding a safe location, Shifeng sat down to rest as he slowly looked through the items his bag. Shifeng went from clueless to shocked. He had to admit that ransacking the camp was extremely profitable. Just this one time was enough to make up for his hours of hard work. He instantly collected all of the moonstone he needed, completing his quest. The next thing he needed to do was to leave the Moonlight Forest and dispel the curse amongst these treasures. Aside from the large amount of moonstone, there were also 7 Tier 1 gemstones, 3 pieces of bronze equipment, and a single bronze-colored mysterious iron ring amongst the 3 pieces of bronze equipment. There was a silver moon arm guard. With it, Shifeng now had 3 out of 5 pieces of the silver moon set equipment. As long as he put in more effort, he might be able to truly collect a complete set. However, Shifeng did not have that much time. The earlier he removed the curse, the earlier he could regain his strength and level up quickly. He still had too many things to do, and he could not do any of them without levels aside from the silver moon arm guard attracting Shifeng's attention. The mysterious iron ring also gave him tremendous joy. Ring of Nothingness, mysterious iron ranked ring. Equipment requirement: Intelligence 10. Strength +1, Agility +1, Intelligence +2. Additional ability: Shadow of Nothingness. Allows the user to enter a state of nothingness. The user will not be able to see other players, while other players will not be able to see the user. Duration of 1 minute, cooldown 5 minutes. Only usable in a non-combative state. Rings such as this, which possessed an additional ability, were extremely rare. It was as rare as the Ring of Gravity, possessing many uses in his previous life. Shifeng had done a lot of research on the Moonlight Forest. Including the information found on the internet, he knew the spawn locations of many treasure chests. Originally, he planned to only go to a few locations that were easy to obtain treasure chests before leaving the Moonlight Forest. Now that he had the Ring of Nothingness, his train of thought widened, and the number of treasure chests that he could obtain greatly increased. The Moonlight Forest was still a virgin land, and treasures could be found everywhere. It was especially true for treasure chests that had been opened for the first time. The items inside were the best. Since he could easily obtain these treasures, would it matter if he wasted a little more time? Following which, Shifeng put on the Ring of Nothingness. He then opened the map for the Moonlight Forest. Confirming his current position, there was a bronze treasure chest not far from his location. So he kept the map and advanced towards the treasure chest. After walking for over 10 minutes, he arrived at ruins of a shrine. The ruins were surrounded by barbaric beastmen who were guarding it, with several elite beastmen in the midst as well. Meanwhile, the treasure chest was located inside the collapsed shrine. However, without a team of 20 elite players, it was impossible to clear off all the barbaric beastmen. Although he could not beat the barbaric beastmen, Shifeng had other methods to get to the treasure chest. Shifeng immediately called out his doppelganger, allowing it to move to a distance away and find a safe location. Meanwhile, Shifeng himself moved closer to the temple. While staying outside the detection range of the barbaric beastmen, Shifeng activated Shadow of Nothingness and entered a state of nothingness. He then ran towards the inside of the shrine with high speed. After entering a state of nothingness, Shifeng could no longer see those barbaric beastmen, and the same went for the barbaric beastmen who could no longer see Shifeng. In such a way, Shifeng soundlessly entered the heavily guarded shrine. There were still several barbaric beastmen guarding inside the shrine. They were less than 20 yards away from the bronze treasure chest. Meanwhile, Shifeng unhurriedly opened the treasure chest. When opening the treasure chest, Shifeng's state of nothingness did not fade, so the channeling process finished without a hitch. However, the moment the treasure chest was opened, just after Shifeng's hand stretched into it, his state of nothingness vanished within an instant. The 5 barbaric beastmen inside the temple noticed Shifeng suddenly entering a rage. They waved their stone hammers as they rushed towards him. Shifeng activated Defensive Blade without hurry, storing the items in the treasure chest in his bag. Before the barbaric beastmen could break off the 3 layers of protection, Shifeng had taken all the items from the treasure chest. He then swapped places with his doppelganger, his original body arriving at a very safe location. Shifeng leisurely departed from the ruins, heading towards the location of the next treasure chest. Moonlight Forest was very large. With unyielding perseverance, Shifeng spent more than 10 hours before finally clearing the entirety of the Moonlight Forest. He harvested a total of 3 mysterious iron treasure chests, 22 bronze treasure chests, and 56 common treasure chests. His harvest was extremely invigorating. His entire bag was clogged full, and he was even forced to throw away several pieces of common equipment that had poor attributes. When he was arranging all these items, a beeping noise came from the system. Shifeng looked at the notification, seeing that it was the alarm that he previously set. It notified him that morning had arrived, and he needed to log off and rest in consideration of his body. Shifeng looked for a safe location before logging off. Chapter 68 Big Harvest. Early morning. A layer of fog still covered the outer layer of the window. Dark clouds densely covered the sky outside, and there were signs of rain falling soon. The air quality here is getting worse by the day. After I earn enough money, I definitely have to move out of this broken district and move to a better house in the city. After sitting up, Shifeng took a look out his window, following which, he flexed his body and got down from his bed. He then went through 20 sets of workout motions before going to his cramped bathroom to wash up. Shifeng grabbed his phone from the table. Once he finished tidying himself up, he started by checking the remaining money in his bank account. Constantly eating instant noodles was bad for his body. Moreover, the nutrients provided were definitely not enough to supplement his method of training. He had obtained the membership card and coupons for Big Dipper after much difficulty, yet he discovered that he still needed to wait for 5 days before he could use them. This caused him to be slightly depressed. Now his only hope was on the sales of the God's Domain game currency. Previously, Shifeng had registered 3 gold coins at the virtual trade center. If there were someone who bought them, then the credits earned would automatically be sent to his bank account. However, the trade center had a 3-hour transaction delay. Moreover, Shifeng did not turn on the notifications for his trade account. So, even if the transaction had already been done, he did not know how much had been transferred to his account. He could only use his old modeled phone to check his bank account. Shifeng currently did not possess the money to purchase the latest quantum watch. Otherwise, a lot of matters could be easily resolved using the quantum watch. Even credit card payments could be done through the quantum watch. Moreover, all shops that sold items supported payment using the quantum watch. As it was both safe and fast in a short moment, Shifeng logged into his bank account using his handphone, checking the amount of money he had remaining. If there were enough credits, he would go and have a good meal. The last time he remembered having meat was when he was still in his 3rd year of university. Now, he was in his 4th year and would be graduating soon. Previously, he had retrieved all of his money from his bank account to buy instant noodles. His current balance should not be more than 1 credit after selling for an entire night. There should be some people who would purchase some of his game currency. It was especially true for the guilds in White River City. Shifeng did not believe those guilds could amass funds that quickly. Even if they were to sign a contract with money farming teams or have their money farming teams, it was absolutely impossible for them to purchase that much equipment in such a short period. More or less, they should have purchased some game currency. They actually bought quite a lot. I guess I won't have to fuss over food for a few days. Shifeng smiled slightly when he saw that there were over 1,700 credits in his bank account. However, the trade tax was truly high. He sold a total of 30 silver coins which were worth 1,800 credits, but 100 of those credits went to taxes. The amount was truly sinister. In any case, Shifeng now had some money, and it was double the amount of living expenses he would have each month. It was enough for him to eat properly for quite some time. If all 3 gold coins sold, then that would amount to 18,000 credits. Shifeng would then have the money to buy 2 virtual gaming helmets. The only worry he had right now was whether or not all 3 gold coins would sell. After some consideration, Shifeng decided that he definitely must make these guilds and players spend more money during this period. Otherwise, if they were to make business deals in the game, they would easily be able to solve their problem with money. At that time, they would not have to purchase game currency from the virtual trade center. Subsequently, Shifeng left his rented apartment. He made a trip to the bank, withdrawing all of his money. Now that he had some money, Shifeng went to the nutrition center and bought 3 bottles of C-rank nutrient fluids. They were enough to last him for up to 9 days. When the beautiful saleswoman saw that Shifeng had bought 3 bottles without even blinking, she could not help but have delightful thoughts. Taking the initiative, she asked, "Are you free this afternoon, handsome? How about we go to Yulon Square to have a drink? My treat." Yulon Square was a nearby well-known romantic location, and many youths, both males and females, loved going there. Looking at the beautiful saleswoman's graceful body and lust-filled eyes, She was much better than the gorgeously dressed girls in his class. However, Shifeng only gave her a calm smile. How could he not know what her thoughts were? He tactfully rejected her and turned around to leave. Shifeng's reaction caused the beautiful saleswoman to feel slightly unfortunate. A large catch had run away just like that. Was she not beautiful? Was her body lacking? Nutrient fluids were the pinnacle products of the new age. Not only could they slow down aging, but they could also discreetly mend the injuries that could not be detected, regenerate body cells, develop the brain cells, and many more astonishing impacts. These items have already become must-haves for athletes and martial artists. However, they were very expensive, so the common folk could only occasionally buy a bottle to drink. After all, a month's salary was only so much. It was impossible for them to afford a bottle every 3 days. Only the wealthy were able to treat these nutrient fluids as drinks, constantly transforming their bodies. Hundreds of years ago, very rarely would the children of wealthy families be ugly. Females would normally be beauties, while males would normally be handsome men. However, with the nutrient fluids in this current age, beautiful women and handsome men could be commonly seen throughout the streets. A bottle of C-rank nutrient fluid cost 400 credits. A bottle of B-rank nutrient fluid cost 1,000 credits. A bottle of A-rank nutrient fluid cost 10,000 credits. As for the best S-rank nutrient fluids, those were items that could not be bought by common folk even if they wanted to. These nutrient fluids were only sold to the inner circles of society in his previous life. Shifeng was fortunate enough to buy one because of his status as a core member of Shadow. The S-rank nutrient fluid was extremely expensive, costing 1,000,000 credits per bottle. However, its effects were similarly astonishing. A-rank nutrient fluids were far from being comparable to it. Although S-rank nutrient fluids were very expensive, there were plenty of wealthy people in the world. The ones who could afford to buy it would not trouble themselves over such an amount of money. After all, who wouldn't want to trade money for their own youth? It was truly hard to imagine. The dream of humanity hundreds of years ago had now become a reality. The body was a needed asset to make a revolution. If Shifeng wanted to improve his skills in God's domain and stand at the very top of the game, then a strong body and nimble mind were indispensable. Hence, Shifeng would not make the same mistake in this aspect as he did in his previous life, following which, Shifeng went to a gourmet restaurant. He spent 100 credits purchasing 2 sets of nutrient set meals. One was for him to eat right now and another as takeaway for his lunch. After eating, Shifeng made a trip to a normal workout center. After spending 60 credits, he trained for 4 hours before returning home in the evening around 7 p.m. Shifeng drank a bottle of nutrient fluid and laid on the bed. He activated the gaming helmet and connected to God's domain. After logging in, Shifeng started arranging the items he obtained. When he was done arranging the items, Shifeng started feeling emotional. It was no wonder the Moonlight Forest was a land of treasures. Just the various Tier 1 gemstones he obtained alone amounted to over 300 pieces. There were also tens of skill books, dozens of pieces of bronze equipment, 5 pieces of mysterious iron equipment, over 50 card sets, more than 20 recipes for lifestyle jobs, over 30 Tier 1 magic scrolls, and 4 Tier 2 magic scrolls. The magic scrolls from treasure chests were much better than those sold in the magic shop. This was because the various scrolls in the magic shop did not even reach the standard of Tier 1. Meanwhile, Tier 2 magic scrolls were much more precious. Every piece would have a great purpose, and there would be nobody willing to sell it. As for the thing that brought Shifeng the most joy, he finished collecting the Silver Moon set equipment. In addition, he also collected a complete set of Black Blood set equipment meant for Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights. The Black Blood set equipment's value far exceeded that of the Silver Moon set equipment. It was one of the best set equipment for Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights that were below level 10. If Kola were to equip this set at level 6 or level 7, then Hell Mode dungeons below level 10 would no longer be a problem with so many good items. Shifeng already had a solid base for forming a 20-man team. The only concerns remaining would be recruiting members and their skills. After finished arranging his bag, and confirming that there were no more profits to be gained from the Moonlight Forest, Shifeng activated the teleportation magic orb, leaving the Moonlight Forest. Chapter 69 Lunatic. In the real world, the sky slowly darkened as the sun went under the mountain. On the other hand, players in God's domain were welcoming the rise of the morning sun. Red Leaf Town was currently brightly lit as if it were daytime. In the trade area, Players could be found everywhere as they pushed their way through the streets. Compared to yesterday, there were a lot more players currently in Red Leaf Town, and a lot of them were new players who were level 0 after being officially active for 2 days. Many people started to notice the difference between God's Domain and other virtual reality games. The battling alone was extremely attractive, not to mention other sources of entertainment. The monsters in God's Domain improved with the increase in levels, making the battles seem increasingly real. It was no longer the usual simple bouts where players and monsters would take turns fighting each other. The battles in God's Domain were more similar to the fighting competitions in real life. This was the age where the world's entire population would exercise. In the real world, people had already reached a level of obsession in regards to fighting competitions, making such competitions extremely popular. Everyone wished for a battle in which they could fight to their heart's content, and even more so when exchanging blows with an expert. They wanted to chase after the intense feeling of excitement that made one's blood boil. It was an addicting feeling that was impossible to give up. Meanwhile, God's Domain had all of this, and there were no dangers to a person's life. Moreover, God's Domain contained great adventures that were both fascinating and thrilling. There were also countless unknowns waiting to be discovered and explored. Time in the game was also double that of real life. Many players wished they could stay inside God's Domain for the rest of their lives, living their second life within the game. It was also because of this reason that many players were attracted to God's Domain. Many virtual gaming companies, after seeing this irreversible situation, declared bankruptcy one after another, as they prepared to invest in God's Domain. Such a situation also caused some unwilling veteran gamers to enter God's Domain, greatly increasing the number of players. Just after returning to Red Leaf Town, Sherfeng received a bunch of system notifications. Almost all of them were sales notifications from the auction house. Within an instant, the money Sherfeng possessed increased to over 500 silver coins or 5 gold coins. Sherfeng still remembered having recently registering 3 gold coins at the virtual trade center. After less than a day's worth of effort, he now possessed an additional 5 gold coins. Those guilds obtained all this money after much difficulty, yet they all contributed to him in the end. Currently, there might not be another player in White River City who was wealthier than he was. The guild leaders of first-rate guilds were no exception. However, this was only the tip of the iceberg. The real money-making moment was just starting. Sherfeng first stored all the items that were in his bag into his warehouse. He was not planning on selling them but instead kept them for future use. After all, items such as gemstones and skill books were hard currencies. Their prices would never depreciate. On the contrary, it was equipment that would depreciate along with the increase in player levels. Soon afterward, Sherfeng started doing his old business again. Nighttime was the best period for doing business. Seeing that the sun was soon to rise, Sherfeng set aside his quest for now and set up a street stall, purchasing stones, magic essences, hard stones and card sets. Due to previous similar occurrences, many players would deliberately stay here and await Sherfeng's arrival. Now, just a casual shout from Sherfeng was enough to cause a crowd of players to come running towards him in such a way. Sherfeng bought materials while listening to the conversations of players nearby. The Assassin's Alliance has obtained great glory this time. They completed the Insurrection of the Little Fishmen quest and earned a lot of guild reputation. It won't be long before the Assassin's Alliance will become a level 2 guild. What's the big deal? I've heard that a major event occurred in the capital city. The guild leader of a first-rate guild, Star River Federation, completed a major quest and has already become a first-class citizen. Just a little more, and he will become part of the nobility. When he obtains the status of a noble, what would a little guild reputation matter? After becoming a noble, he could go to the army camp and city hall to ask for guild quests. Star River Federation could catch up and surpass the Assassin's Alliance at any time. Including the various privileges available to nobles, their accumulated advantage is huge. Just the current Star River Federation was enough to suppress Ouroboros. When the fight for the capital city begins, the city would most likely fall into the hands of the Star River Federation. Those are just small matters. Now, the most popular matter would have to be the showdown between that Black Flame Forger and Hammer Trading. Who doesn't know about that? Right now, there is most likely not a single person in the White River City area that doesn't know of it. However, I never truly imagined that the victor would be so quickly determined. Even further, I never thought that the final winner would be Hammer Trading. Thankfully I was quick-witted and borrowed some money to buy a glimmer chest plate. Many people are currently buying them at high prices. I could easily earn 3 silver coins as long as I resell the one I have. Exactly. Regardless of attributes or design, the glimmer chest plate is way better, so its cost must be extremely high. It only sold for such a low price because of the competition with hammer trading. Black Flame must have lost that battle after constantly losing money. Unfortunately, he is not selling even a single piece of the equipment right now. Otherwise, I would definitely borrow money to buy one. Right now, hammer trading's fame has exploded. On the forums, he had even started proudly scolding the mysterious forger as incompetent, calling the mysterious forger a son of a bitch for not daring to compete with him. To increase their fame and influence, those first-rate guilds will certainly invite him. Hammer trading must already be discussing contract terms with them right now. The chief forger of a first-rate guild, people would drool just thinking about such a position. However, we can only look on in envy because we don't have a forging design for bronze equipment. If I had such an item, even if I were to go bankrupt, I would definitely compete with hammer trading to the end. When I get the chief position of a first-rate guild, my future will be filled with fame and fortune. When Shifeng heard their conversation, his brows slightly wrinkled. He then called up the official forum. Sure enough, hammer trading was ridiculing him with all sorts of insults. Son of a bitch, weren't you so awesome? Why have you turned into a coward? Let's continue competing if you have the ability. See how I'll flatten a black-heart forger like you. Looking at hammer trading's inferior shenanigans, Shifeng smiled calmly. He could not help but admire hammer trading. To become famous, he turned into a lunatic that was willing to use any means. Just like in Shifeng's previous life, to join world dominators and become their chief forger, hammer trading was willing to sell out their entire guild after he finished purchasing the materials. Shifeng headed towards the auction house after all the clamor hammer trading made. The glimmer chestplate had thoroughly become famous. Shifeng could now start his next money-making operation in the current stage of the game. A majority of the average players were already level 3, while many veterans were level 4 and experts were level 5. The average player could not afford a glimmer chestplate, whereas veterans would have to borrow some money to purchase a piece for themselves. As for experts, the usage of the glimmer chestplate was not that great. There was a lot of equipment inside level 5 dungeons that was far better than the glimmer chestplate. That meant that the glimmer chestplate could no longer earn Shifeng a lot of money. After all, the major buyers of the equipment were mostly those guilds. Maybe there were some nouveau riche who could afford to buy one to toy around with, but they were in the extreme minorities amongst the average player. Shifeng walked into the auction house, into the large hall that was packed with people. Without a better option, Shifeng looked for a corner and silently brought up the display screen of the auction house. He then placed 20 copies of the forging design for the glimmer chestplate on auction. The base price for each forging design was set at 30 silver coins, and they would be sold one by one at intervals of half an hour. It was not because Shifeng did not wish to sell them in bulk, but because doing so would result in their price staying low. Only through hunger marketing would he be able to reap the greatest profit. Let those guilds slowly fight amongst themselves afterwards. Shifeng cleaned out the accumulated hard stones and card sets from the auction house. He then left the auction house and headed towards the library. Chapter 70. Success or failure boils down to the same person. Kuruk Fields. This was the playground for the level 6 grassland lion cubs. At this stage of the game, there were very few players who would come here to grind and level up. That was because the level here was slightly higher. Moreover, the monsters were numerous and concentrated, making them hard to kill. These grassland lion cubs hunted in groups of 3 to 5. Sometimes they would even be followed by a fully grown elite grassland lion, making them very hard to deal with. However, there was currently a 6-man party on these fields, fighting a group of lions. A girl dressed in water blue armor brandished her greatsword, directly confronting an elite grassland lion. Not only did she easily evade the grassland lion's sharp claws, she even took the chance to attack and deal damage. Her valiant appearance could captivate even women. This girl was the snow goddess Gentle Snow. She had already reached level 5, and she wore the level 4 bronze set equipment, Azure Scar. In her hands, she held the mysterious iron-ranked Conqueror's sword. Compared to before, her current strength had greatly increased. Also, there was also a shield warrior who was not any weaker, tanking 4 grassland lion cubs at once. The party's healer, Xiao Yuer, chanted a prayer, her delicate hands tracing divine texts in midair. Xiao Yuer took care of the shield warrior while also healing Gentle Snow, allowing both their HPs to remain above the safety line. The flame witch, Zhao Yueru, was also wearing the level 4 fantasy flame set equipment. Large fireballs constantly shot out from her hand, causing a frightening amount of damage to appear above the grassland lion's head. Within moments, they massacred the group of elite-led lions. Gentle Snow picked up the loot from the grassland lion, discovering that it was a skill book. No equipment dropped. She then looked towards Xiao Yuer, saying, Xiao Yuer, it's your sacred light shield. Learn it quickly. After some rest, we will continue looking for another grassland lion. We absolutely must get the revival skill. Great! With this skill, healing won't be so intense anymore, Xiao Yuer happily said as she received the skill. Currently resting, Zhao Yueru suddenly asked in a curious tone, Snow, that hammer trading has already garnered a huge amount of fame. We should at least send a person to recruit him. We can still increase our guild's fame if we're successful. Moreover, his forging skills are not bad. It would be unfortunate if we were to let some other guild snatch him away. No need. It won't be long before level 3 bronze equipment is of little value. He only knows how to forge level 3 bronze equipment and doesn't possess any forging designs for higher level equipment. Why should we spend a large sum of money fighting over him? We would just lose out on earning a little money. Moreover, we don't even know when our guild would be able to obtain a forging design for high-leveled bronze equipment. What would we need him for? Gentle Snow shook her head. She held no particular interest towards a person like hammer trading. Instead, she said, on the contrary, I'm more interested in the Black Flame Forger, especially the forger's actions. I cannot see through his intentions. If he wanted to attract the attention of first-rate guilds and stand out, then he has no reason to hide his name. There would be plenty of large guilds contacting him. However, he has hidden his name, preventing anybody from contacting him. That means that he does not wish for others to know of his identity. Yet, he still competed with hammer trading, lowering the price for his equipment and letting everyone know of him once more. Now that he has entered our eyes at the most heated moment, he suddenly withdraws from the competition and fades out of our sight once more. He has continuously brought us 3 different kinds of forged equipment. Being able to obtain that many forging designs for bronze equipment shows that he has great strength. Yet why would he suddenly withdraw? What is this Black Flame Forger's goal? Or did he withdraw because he already achieved his goal? Until now, I still don't know what that Black Flame Forger is trying to do. He is filled with mystery in all aspects. Snow, how about I have someone research this forger? Hearing you say so, even I want to see what kind of person he is. After hearing Gentle Snow's analysis, realization struck Zhao Yueru. She suddenly grew an interest towards this Black Flame Forger. She also felt this person was not simple. Her interest towards the Black Flame Forger's identity overflowed. Just the thought of being able to expose this person's identity made her feel slightly excited. Meanwhile, inside an intermediate forging room on the 2nd floor of the Forging Association. Everyone, how goes your consideration? Hammer Trading sat cross-legged, casually asking as he looked at the representatives of the first-rate guilds with narrowed eyes. However, the conditions set out by Hammer Trading caused these first-rate guilds to go silent. Hammer Trading's conditions were too harsh. Just the villa he wanted in the city he lived in and the annual salary of 5 million credits would cause these guilds to take a step back, not to mention that he wanted all resources to be prioritized to him. Such treatment was most likely only enjoyed by the guild leader and the vice leader. Meanwhile, Hammer Trading wanted the same treatment as them. Then, didn't that mean he would be on equal footings with the guild leader and vice leader? You guys have to think through this clearly. It isn't easy for me to earn such a great reputation. As long as I join your guild, your popularity will immediately soar and surpass the other guilds. You won't have a shortage of bronze equipment and will be able to earn a large sum of money because of my forging techniques. The price I've given shouldn't be considered much, Hammer Trading said with a smile. His face held an expression that said, if you don't recruit me, there will be others who will. Don't regret it when that time comes. Hammer Trading had these first-rate guilds eating out of the palm of his hand. Right now, each of these first-rate guilds wanted to be a step ahead of the others. If so, they would be able to have a larger advantage in taking hold of a city. The wealth that came with possessing control over a virtual city was not something a mere 5 million credits and a villa could compare to. Hammer Trading's asking price could be considered low looking at the representatives of these first-rate guilds. Although their expressions held hesitation, their eyes flashed with the conviction of recruiting him. Hammer Trading suddenly felt his action of investing all of his possessions into the competition this time was truly wise. If he hadn't steeled his heart to borrow money from loan sharks at the last second, he might have actually lost to the Black Flame Forger. Fortunately, the Black Flame Forger bit the dust a step earlier than he did, allowing him to taste the final fruit of victory just as Hammer Trading was being pleased with himself. The expressions of the numerous representatives around the conference table suddenly changed. Each and every one of them revealed expressions of shock and ecstasy. Brother Hammer Trading, I am truly sorry, but our guild has decided to withdraw from this competition and yield to the other guilds. Our guild won't be joining anymore, and I still have matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving, Star River Federation's representative suddenly said. This price is just too high. Our guild can only give up as well. We can only hope to cooperate with you in the future. For a moment, all the guild representatives started leaving. Moreover, every one of them seemed to be in a hurry. It was as if they could not help but to immediately run to some other place, not wanting to waste even a little time. What do you all mean? Not negotiating anymore? You guys better not regret it. I'm a forger that can craft bronze equipment. I won't join in the future, even if you all beg me. Is being able to forge bronze equipment amazing? Right now, the auction house is selling forging designs for bronze equipment. With the forging design, we can nurture our own forgers. We don't need to spend as much as 5 million credits at all. One of the representatives coldly laughed at Hammer Trading before leaving the forging room. What did you say? Speak clearly before you leave. Hammer Trading abruptly stood up after hearing this. He thought he had heard wrong. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.